The town of Berlin. Country charm at the center of Connecticut.
All right, let's call this meeting to order. Sidebar. Pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. Roll call, okay.
Councilor Campanelli?
Here.
Councilor Evans?
Here.
Mayor Kaczynski?
Here.
Councilor Luddy?
Here.
Councilor Pinesta?
Here.
Councilor Rochette?
Here.
Councilor Rosso?
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We start with our audience of citizens. You don't need to fill out the sheet here, but I have one name on the sheet, so whoever fills it out gets to come up first. Tina Doyle, come on down. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for printing clearly and having an easy name to pronounce too.
You're welcome. Tina Doyle, 103 Fairview Drive. Tonight I'm not here as a resident of town, but as the Senior Center Director. May is Older America's Month, and it's been designated by the National Council on Aging. The theme this year is Age Out Loud, so I came to personally invite the Town Council to come out to the Senior Center this month when you get a chance. Come see our, participate in our events. I know the seniors would love to see you. And you should all have our new newsletter. We have a brand new format. We also have a new logo for the Berlin Senior Center. So, and if you ever wanted to have an office hour there, we have extra office. So I encourage you to come out and support our seniors.
Awesome.
Okay, thank
Great.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Tina.
very much. And Tina, while you're here,
Yes.
since we did have this discussion the other night when I happened to see you there, I just wanted to make sure, I know we have the budget on the agenda, but while we're talking about the budget, how did we leave? Remember, we all desperately wanted the chairs for the senior center, and I don't remember what happened to them. Gone? Nah, we got to put them in. We got to do the chairs somehow. Oh, I think, didn't we talk about a surplus at the end of this year, if there is one? Okay, so.
If there is one.
Well, if there isn't one,
That's the question.
we will find that.
I would appreciate it.
Yeah,
Because
I-
those chairs are 32 years old.
No, you told me that, I know.
And there's no more repairing them. And we need the chairs with arms
Yeah,
to make it easier for our seniors in getting up and to make them safe.
yeah.
Some of those chairs are no longer safe for them to sit in.
Yeah, no, I saw that one day when I was there, that, there was the rush on for the chairs with
Right.
the arms,
Yeah.
which I like
Yeah.
chairs with arms too,
Yeah.
we all do probably, so. Yeah, so we will find that, I want to say it was around $9,000, is that
Yes.
what we
Yes.
talked about?
Mayor, Jen told me that there was some money for that.
Oh,
Now,
that's wonderful.
I don't know if you need to talk, that was when we talked about, there was an
Okay.
item on the agenda, I think
Dave's
last
looking
month.
now. I mean, I know we went
But
back and forth on.
I
There
don't
was a
know.
capital improvement that was put in for.
Right, but when I asked her about that item that was on last council meeting, she said that.
She thinks
the
it was
chair-
there?
I don't know
It was
where it
this
is,
year's money, okay.
but I think. you
Well,
should
I
talk
do
to
get
Jen.
donations
No, it's
from.
not that, Tina, I don't know, but I would talk to Jen.
Okay, Jack, could you ask Jen about that?
Someone told us there was alternate funding available.
That's what I
for
thought. I thought we had settled
But it's
that.
it's not enough. And in the funding that I get from a donation from a generous deceased resident, she specified for other items of, not just furniture.
Right, but when the chairs came up, someone said, no, we have it covered another way.
That's what I thought.
But
That's
if
what
it's
I
not,
thought.
we'll make sure it is.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
appreciate it.
We'll-
And the
we'll-
seniors appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, Tina.
Mayor, the figure I had was there was like roughly 9,000 for chairs and 5,000 for tables.
Right. So I know I know we went back and forth so many times, it's hard to remember, but I knew the chairs in the end, I thought, Charlie, that's how I remembered it, we found the money somehow.
The tables
are-
I can do with the tables I have, but.
Yeah, the chairs are the critical point.
Yeah.
So we will find that
Okay.
for you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank
all right,
you.
thanks. Okay, consent agenda?
Anybody else?
Oh, I'm sorry, oh my goodness, Sam, what the heck, Jesus.
twice about voting.
Well, whatever. Do what you got to do. So.
You know, I've been sitting on the Sam Lamaglio, 78 Hickory Hill Road. I've been sitting on the sideline for this a budget and not really getting involved, just analyzing it. So I've got some thoughts after the referendum vote. I don't think you should change the budget this year because you have 14,000 people that were supposed to registered voters, approximately 14,000 people. 1,200 people showed up for the budget. And, you know, some of them voted no, too high, too low, whatever. But you got 13,000 people that were happy with the budget. That's how I analyze this whole situation. I analyze if you got 13,000 people that went out and voted for the budget, you shouldn't change the budget, just pass it as it is. That's what I think. But there's other issues that should be addressed on future budgets. We should have a 50-50 budget. I think we should have 50% for the town, 50% for the Board of Education. I don't think the Board of Education should get more money than the town, and I don't think the town should get more money than the Board of Education. You know, the school system says that Berlin High School is the centerpiece of the town, that people come in this town, they look at Berlin High School, and they're going to move into Berlin. Well, there's other areas that are centerpieces of the town. The town hall, we need to renovate. We definitely need a new police station. Definitely need a new police station. We need to look at a community center in the future. We need to do something with the library. These are things that are centerpieces of the town, and these are the things that people look at. We need to do something at our Sage Park. We need to address our infrastructure. And when you do a 50-50 budget, at least it gives the town some money to address these things. And you say, well, how can you get to a 50-50 budget? Very easy. You have the Board of Education freeze the administrative salaries for between 3 to 5 years. You have a superintendent that is possibly one of the highest paid superintendents in the state of Connecticut. He got a $10,000 increase last year. You have principals that probably got an increase last year. You got assistant principals that probably got an increase last year. You have assistant principals that make more money than the chief of police in town. And incidentally, the chief of police didn't even get a raise last year. We can no longer afford, as a town, these high administrative salaries, and we can no longer afford, as a town, to have a Board of Education budget 50% more than the town budget. It's not sustainable, and we're going to end up like the state of Connecticut. Also, the Board of Education, due to decline in enrollment in the state of Connecticut, and I know the Board of Education doesn't like to hear this, but it's declining in Berlin too. We need to look at all programs. We need to improve the programs that work. We need to abolish the programs that don't work. We need to consolidate everything on the Board of Education because they're the main driver of our budget. We need to look at the retiring teachers. If their positions should not be filled, we should not fill them. We should consolidate classrooms. The Board of Education cannot use scare tactics with young parents and threaten to cut the programs when they don't receive the dollar amount they request. Parents should be told the truth. The Board of Ed is never cut, just a percentage of their request that is cut. If the Board of Ed takes my proposals, then we could have a 50-50 budget, and then we could do things in this town that we should have done 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that we haven't done. And I know the Board of Education is going to say that Sam Lamaglio is anti-education. That's totally false. I want the best education that the town of Berlin can't afford, and I want the best for the town's interest. And if we all work together, Mr. Mayor, we could achieve that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Okay, anybody else? Yes?
I didn't sign up because.
No, that's okay.
You butchered my name a couple times.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Fine, you'll get it eventually if I keep coming.
Yeah. Maybe not, I don't know.
I go to the Board of Ed meeting, so.
Okay.
Jan Zagorski, 63 Grandview Avenue. I am pro-education, but we'll get to that in a minute, Sam, whatever. I just want to address, I had a question about the charter. I actually tried to read it online because I have no life. And under the charter that I pulled up that was approved in November, it said we had a second referendum. Now, I don't know if that's correct or not, but I feel that if someone who is relatively good at searching websites comes up with that one charter and that's what it says, that's a problem. So when I saw tonight that the budget was going to be addressed here, I'm a little confused. So if you'd like to clear it up at some point, that would be nice. You can get me at berlinschools.org, Jay Zagorski,
That's for
Z-A-G-O-R-S-K-I.
next year. That goes into effect next year.
When? November?
After November.
So where's the other charter posted?
I'd have to.
Is it still
We
online?
pulled it down.
We probably pulled it
Okay.
down. Yeah, okay, we probably pulled it down.
Okay, that's a problem when I'm trying to read it, but that's
Yep.
okay.
There should be, I would imagine, on the front of that charter, I would hope there should be an effective date
Yeah,
of that
it
charter.
It is, but each
Oh.
section goes back and says this is
Oh, okay.
effective on,
Okay.
you know, one day 2019
Yeah.
or whatever. Sam, you remember from the different sections, so.
So maybe what we could do is, would it be hard to put the
I can put the section, I can
and
put the original
yeah,
one up.
differentiate them. Just say this is the charter effective until.
The problem is that
Oh.
it's because of the tie-in with the Board of Finance.
Okay.
And because we don't elect the Board of Finance until this November,
Right.
you can't, that whole charter section refers back to the Board of Finance and to the council.
Right.
So there's no Board of Finance right now, which is why
The referendum waits till.
the way,
That's
yes,
all it
it
gets.
waits until,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry for any misunderstanding.
Which I understand that, but if it had said
Effective.
this one is good until 2017, or, and honestly, like I said, I didn't read the whole thing. I looked at budget, and I went to the budget page, page
Yeah.
25, and it talked about that one section. I don't have time to read the entire charter.
Oh, come
No,
on.
there's some gray
I have
area.
papers to grade.
Okay.
And I coach, and I'm never home. Ask my husband. He thought I was having an affair, but he knows I'm always at meetings. So
So.
anyway,
I just want to,
So,
I just want
yeah.
to, see, the rest of the charters, for the most part, is effective now. It's just that one section because of
the
the Board of
budget
Finance.
or the
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Okay.
know, it's that Board of Finance tie-in
All
that is
tied
the
together.
problem.
okay.
And I apologize for any confusion.
So maybe we can just, if not, put the old one. So maybe that would lead to more confusion. Maybe just spell out somewhere what section.
Or highlight. I don't know
Yeah,
if it can be
highlight. Yeah,
highlighted or
highlight
something.
what
Maybe
is
we can-
effective now and what is effective.
Put like an
after November?
explanation document up there
May-
that says
yeah,
this
maybe.
November you will elect.
Prior to it or
finance.
something.
After
something
that,
like that.
this is
Sorry, Kate,
whatever.
but
No,
if
that's
you
all
can
right.
come up
I
with
think
something.
I did it in the annual report,
Okay.
Yeah.
so I can take that page out.
And I'm pretty
again.
sure no one else is going to go in and read the
That's
charter,
all right,
but you know,
that's
whatever.
what I'm about.
Okay. I just wanted to comment on the budget and how it came out. I want to thank the council for adding more money to the Board of Education budget. Contrary to what Sam said, we have cut major programs and a 1% increase when you're talking at, I mean, I haven't gotten a huge raise in years, and I know I'm not an administrator and never want to be because I'm about the kids. But in order to keep salaries where they are, the budget has to go up. And if you don't like that, we are letting 12 teachers go this year, 2 of which a whole program at McGee. Teachers at the top end of the scale. One is certified in another area, which kicks me out of my job, but that's okay. I love the gym too. And the other one is going to have to retire at an age he may not be ready to retire for. So you can't say that, whatever, get rid of the old people. I'm sick of that because I am now one of them. And I
Many
can't
of
get,
us are,
and I mean, I came to Berlin to teach what I wanted to teach, and now I'm not able to teach it, and I can't get another job because they have to hire me at STEP, so I'm kind of stuck doing what I can do, and I can do it well, but it's not, I think, what's best for the kids. Anyway, off subject. That's Board of Ed issues. I just want to say that I struggle with the fact, I understand what Sam said, that there was a very low turnout with the budget, and that doesn't make me happy either. I was on emails encouraging people to go out and vote whichever way. If someone asked me, I gave my opinion. I explained both sides. I explained that a no vote, the questions were non-binding, and that's a risk you take, and people voted the way they voted. But I also strongly feel, as I did last summer, that I got off my butt and I voted at 6 a.m. I come here and I talk. I think that that deserves a little bit of respect as well. Everyone had the opportunity to go out and vote. They were open from 6 to 8. The weather was not wonderful, but my kids knew they had to get out there and vote because I told them they had to get out there and vote. So I don't think it's fair to tell the 7.9% that your vote doesn't matter or you're not going to have as good a vote the next time around. So, having said that, I hope you don't disregard what the 7.9% of us have said. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Before I close our audience, seeing no hands, I will close the audience of citizens and move on to our meeting agenda, starting with our consent agenda. If everyone has read the consent items, if we could have a motion.
Okay, move to accept the 5 consent agenda items that are before us tonight.
Second on that?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. On to our agenda. Number 1, Jeff.
Okay, number 1, first thing on the agenda, Jessica Garrity of the Raising Berlin is requesting a fee waiver for the police department fees incurred last year at movie night at Sage Park Piccadilly Field. They did not request that fee waiver last year. At this point, they have not paid the fees, and they are requesting that the fees be waived for that event.
Okay.
Okay.
Motion?
Move to approve the request by Jessica Garrity on behalf of Raising Berlin to waive the police department fees in the amount of $354, which have not been paid.
Okay, is there a second on that?
Second.
Any discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. Number 2.
Item number 2 is a budget transfer for $39,500 from the nurses' account to the physical therapy account. They've been operating with one less nurse, so there's some extra funds in that account. They've had significant more physical therapy this year. They've incurred additional costs, so they're requesting that the funds be transferred from the nurses to the physical therapy to cover those costs.
Okay. Motion on this?
Sure. Move to approve a transfer of $39,500 from the nurses' physical therapist under wages and salaries due to the increased need for physical therapy.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. 3.
Item number 3, the Berlin Women's Softball League is requesting a fee waiver for the special for the event that they're going to have in August. They need it's for the lights, and they're requesting a fee waiver of $240 for that waiver.
Okay. Motion?
Okay, move to approve waiver of light fee of approximately $240 for the Berlin Women's Softball League for usage of O'Connell Hubbard Field during the month of August.
Second on that?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Okay. Item number 4 is a donation of golf rounds and carts for the Yukon golf team. There is a raffle prize for the 30th annual Joe Gianelli Yukon Golf Classic to be held on May 12th at Shelter Harbors Golf Club in Westerly, Rhode Island. The Park and Rec Commission approved the donation request at their meeting on April 20th. John Zook is here to answer any questions.
Okay, can I have a motion on this?
Move to approve a donation for a round of golf for 4 and 2 golf carts at Timberland Golf Course to be used as a raffle prize at the University of Connecticut's golf team 30th annual Joe Gianelli Yukon Golf Classic to be held Friday, May 12th, 2017 at Shelter Harbors Golf Club in Westerly, Rhode Island. Total donation value is $226.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any, motion is carried, thank you. Number 5.
Okay, agenda item number 5 is a presentation by Civic Moxie. They're going to discuss the transit-oriented development planning report that they're presenting. So,
I'm presenting where we are. I had done a previous presentation. We're nearing the end of our planning study work. As a reminder, we're looking at a quarter-mile radius around the train station, looking at about a 5-minute walk in terms of our study area, with the focus area being the irregular shape within it, which captures many of the commercial buildings within that area and vacant lots. We're doing this transit-oriented development plan in Kensington Village to really recognize this as a civic core of the town, trying to create a stronger identity for the center to support existing businesses and attract new businesses and provide a place, potential place for housing for empty nesters, for millennials, others, and leveraging the train station improvements and the public sector money that's going into those improvements to try to attract private investment to the town and increase tax revenue. We started really with a question about what makes a town center. How can we help enhance this center? And what came out of that was a series of responses from the public at our public meetings about places they like, Glastonbury, additional activity, a strong identity for a town center, thinking about reuse and reconstruction of the historic train station. Obviously, the fire on December 21st of last year was devastating for the town, but thinking about how to kind of make some kind of recognition of the importance of that train station, and also thinking about reusing historic elements is very critical as kind of a symbol of the town. In order to have a village or a town center, you really need people. And we have looked at a number of ways about how to bring people in. We've heard particularly from businesses. They really need more foot traffic. You have vacant ground floor space. It's really a goal of the town to fill that. Housing will bring more residents. Activities for planned events or festivals. Thinking about some kind of magnet use, a community center, a civic use such as a library, recreation, or YMCA would certainly help in the town center. And then thinking about ridership on the commuter train as that new service opens up. But people really need a reason to get on and off here at the Berlin train station. So we looked at really thinking about the tools that you have and strategies. There are really 4 ways for the town to get what it wants in terms of a vibrant, strong identity civic core. One is really to create a compelling and coordinated image. The second is to zone for what you want, focus more on what you want and not on what you don't want. And public investment to encourage private investment, and that's in all forms, not just money, but other ways to help. And then creating activities and programming in addition to bricks and mortar. So how can the idea of festivals, market days, various school events bring people here within the village center? So our recommendations center on thinking about active public and private partnerships that really support economic development and programming, how to bring everyone together. There is no one solution that's going to make everything work, but it's really going to be a kind of toolkit of things and strategies over time. Supporting a vision and identity that's unique here for Kensington's village, encouraging consistent design and style for buildings, signage, really thinking about quality, how do you really want to celebrate the character of Berlin and Kensington Village, advocating for train station rebuild or reconstruction in some way, and how do you really pay credit to the historic nature of that, and then strengthening a real strong point of the town, which is open space, trails, and pedestrian connections, and really celebrating that and making sure that that's connected in with Kensington Village. So other recommendations are to work with planning and zoning on a zoning strategy that creates a greater density to allow for more people in the village. Ground floor uses and supporting those uses for commercial uses and other active uses to activate the sidewalks and give life to the streets. Creating pedestrian links, and also addressing some of the parking by looking at a shared parking strategy for the village, because no one will come simply because they can find a parking space. But we really need to make sure there's enough to do and enough interesting things for people to walk to. There are more, I promise. That would be great. Here. Somewhere there, page 10. So we really do see this as, over time and with patience, it does work. It works, and it's worked in other places. Thinking of it as a puzzle, where you have an idea of what the big picture is, and you're putting one piece together at a time, confident that you're going to get there to the whole picture. As part of this, we were charged with looking at potential development sites within the town, here in the village, and looking particularly around the train station. And what we have are basically 3 sites that we've looked at. We've looked at the Farmington Avenue parcels that are now town-owned, and looking at potential for doing housing with ground floor commercial there, potentially a signature restaurant, something that really differentiates the village from the turnpike, something unique that really celebrates the character, some green space that could be used for outdoor dining space, again, something unique here for the town, public art. It's a very visible site. Also looking at Depot Crossing and thinking about how to create a bit more density on that site, more housing, not necessarily more ground floor space, but doing another building. Again, more foot traffic, more activity, trying to infill a little bit with that. And then the third piece is what I would call a legacy site. It's more long-term vision, which is Berlin steel, and thinking about possible uses. And here we show a kind of mixed-use strategy that maintains the existing Berlin steel administrative building and the kind of storage shed that's being used by Amtrak right now. But it could be infill with housing, with some other uses, even perhaps some light industrial, tech industrial, other uses filling in on that site. We also think there's a strong possibility of thinking about a civic use on that site, and thinking about whether it be a library or community center or YMCA, how to really play off the train station site, which is here, and think about this as a new kind of civic core in some way, as a really nice addition to what might be future development of that site. So our recommendations are to continue streetscape improvements, which would involve both state and the town in trying to make a friendlier pedestrian environment. Thinking about the Farmington Avenue streetscape in particular, minimizing the width of driveways, aprons, putting in concrete sidewalks, pedestrian scale, ornamental lights, trees on the south side, ornamental trees, street trees on the north, and shared on-street bicycle lanes, which are known as sharrows. Let me go back. For the town to provide technical assistance to small property owners unfamiliar with how to redevelop. Can be very successful in bringing small property owners to the table and getting them used to the idea of doing this. Certainly providing support to groups organizing for arts and culture. We have a survey going out for arts and cultural uses. We did a focus group that was very, very well attended, of different range of uses, and thinking about where they might be located could be a very good strategy for vacant ground floor space right now, kind of temporary free space to get those spaces activated. Supporting creation and maintenance of a local business association. Right now the Chamber shares with New Britain, and thinking about, and the groups have already started under economic development, of coming together and beginning to talk, can be very powerful in a coordinated message and image. Also joining the state Main Streets program and other funded programs where there's some assistance available, and also just information and technical assistance. And pursuing USDA grants that are available for farmer and food markets, and really trying to bolster the kind of farm to table movement and your kind of agricultural heritage here. So coordination by town departments and local businesses and community groups for seasonal events such as Yankee Peddler Days, Arts Walk, a Christmas fair, local food or garden festivals are one way, without bricks and mortar projects, to begin to activate the town center and bring people in, to really view it as a civic core. Can really change and enhance the image of Kensington Village. We think key next steps are deciding on a boulevard location from Farmington into the train station and potential Berlin steel future development, and to advance to construction. Having a zoning strategy in place that sends a positive message to high quality market rate developers that the town is willing to entertain uses here that really are going to add foot traffic and enliven the town center, and then decide on an issuance of a new request for qualifications for perhaps all 3 parcels on Farmington Avenue, to put it out to see developer interest on those sites. The Kensington Village TOD plan, where we are, is that we are doing the draft plan right now. Section 1 is done. We're on sections 2 and 3, still writing. There'll be a 2-week comment period on our draft plan when that is complete, and then we will make revisions and finalize the plan based on comments and feedback, and then there will be final plan endorsement or discussion. So that's where we are right now. Are there any questions? Yes.
When you're done with the step 2, the Dave Sear, 245 Cole Lane. The only question I have is, when you're done writing it, will EDC get a chance to review it?
I think the town can answer that. It's going to go Chris or Jim?
I believe we're planning on it, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
There'll be.
Yeah, I think the plan is to send it back for general comment, but also, ultimately, as we did with the Plan of Conservation and Development, we'd like to bring it back not only to the council, but first to the Economic Development Commission, and have them, take an action on it and make a recommendation to the council. So both the EDC and the council, we'd expect to have a subsequent involvement.
Jim, maybe you want to stay up if we're going to go to the second one? Okay. Okay. All right.
We do have, I guess, logistically, just to say, the next item, we have a little PowerPoint presentation as part of that. So I don't know if Jackie want to just, we have some slides, yeah.
Mike.
Yeah, sorry.
You're out of practice, Jim.
I know. This is like transitional, though. Jack, do you want to introduce the item and leave everybody in the audience, and so we don't have to go back and forth with? Yeah.
Item 6 on the agenda is a discussion about issuing a request for qualifications for the potential future sale of 903 and 913 Farmington Avenue and a portion of 889 Farmington Avenue, and the appointment of an advisory committee for the RFQ process, and reaffirming support for construction of a boulevard to the train station. So,
thanks, Jack. So I'll start with a little introduction, and then turn it back to Susan, and then Jack and Chris. So I just want to give you a little history, since I was around for, I guess, some of the history. But I think what we're talking about is establishing a process, a decision-making process regarding this site in terms of future development, whether it's private development or the police station and private development, making the decision on the boulevard location so we can move forward with that project and see that move, advance as the commuter rail comes into play next year. We'd like to see that, construction activity on the site. So, getting information, going through a process, getting information, making decisions. And I think what we're talking about is really, again, revitalization of this core area around the train station. And I again, look back to our Plan of Conservation and Development, really the first in 2003 that really highlighted the revitalization of the commercial areas of town. I think we felt, the citizen surveys, et cetera, and committee members really felt that the commercial core really didn't live up to the standards that we feel the rest of the town sets. So our residential neighborhoods are great, but our downtown was not really up to snuff. So the goal was to start to revitalize that area. As Susan said, there's a lot of, it's not a silver bullet. There's many strategies you're going to try to undertake to pursue that. And there were 2 nodes that were identified in the 2003 plan. One was the area around Stop and Shop Veterans Park, and the other was the area around the train station. So looking at at the Stop and Shop area, obviously we had the development of the Stop and Shop Legion Square project and the Veterans Park project. And then we've seen around that the stimulation of private development. So we've had new buildings go up, buildings being renovated. That's the kind of activity we were looking for. And what we've seen, obviously we've done a whole set of other projects, whether it be incremental type of projects, whether it's sidewalk, streetscape projects, facade improvements, again, ultimately salvaging the Depot Crossing project. We've got the train station project under construction, many other things. But I think in the recent streetscape in Kensington Center, but we felt like, we need a catalyst for that train station area. And at this site, I think these sites that the town owns were always thought to be the catalyst. And obviously we've been working at these sites for quite a while. And we first acquired the 89 site. It was Pioneer Precision, it was a brownfields, it was a wreck. The town foreclosed in 2009. We went through a whole process of getting grants to do investigations, we got cleanup grants, and we moved that to a point. We knocked down the buildings, but now we've got to move it to the next point in terms of actually remediating the site and redeveloping it. The 903, 913 sites we acquired in October of 2011 to house a new police station. Obviously, subsequent to that, in terms of the police station, the voters had turned down a referendum for funding for that project, and the council had denied funding for a scaled back project. And as we started this transit-oriented development study, we came to the council in September of last year, and we asked for the opportunity to issue an RFP to explore the idea of what kind of private development could be attracted to this site as an alternative to the police station and a partial private development only on 889. And the council said, basically, why don't you go do the transit-oriented development study, see what the recommendations are, and come back. So that's what we've done. And again, Susan will talk a little bit about the TOD, the transit-oriented development aspect of this decision-making tree. And Jack's going to talk about the police station. But what the general scheme, what general proposal is here, is to now reevaluate the alternatives. In order to reevaluate the alternatives, we're requesting the issuance of the request for proposals. Let's find out what kind of private development we could attract to that site. Obviously, what we're looking for is a high-quality, significant development that's going to be not just on its own, an asset, but will attract other investment and development as we've seen in the other area. And then at the same time, we have to recognize that we have issued a statement of need for the police station. We have needs for the police station. So if we were going to release this site from the police station use, the 903 and 913 Farmington Avenue sites, then what are we going to do with the police station? And so Jack's going to talk about some further study that could be done concurrently with the RFQ process, and then as subsequent at the end of that process, we would have better information to make a good decision on the future use of these sites. So that's basically the game plan that we're laying out. And now I'll turn it to Susan to talk about her transit-oriented development study analysis of these sites and best use, highest and best use.
Jim, you pretty much said it all. I want to walk through this, and I have to say that we do planning in a lot of places, and it's often very difficult to come in to reassess something that's already gone through a round of decisions and discussion in a town, because this isn't a verdict on previous decisions. It's planning with new information. And I think that's important for everyone to recognize, is that everyone makes the best decision at the time. And with the train station improvements, there's an opportunity here to think about this site in we think a more strategic way to benefit the town long term, including things like supporting the budget of the town to get to things that we've heard tonight that you're going to need: renovation of town hall, support for a community center, and other things. And so trying to think strategically about how that fits in, and also really creates a sense of place that really contributes and really adds value in the village, in Kensington Village, that sends a signal about, we want this village to have a certain character. We want it to be vibrant. We want quality development. And this is what we're saying as a town. And this site has the potential to do that. So the things that we think about are this site. Number one, it's town-owned, and that's a really big deal. We work in a lot of places where city or a town has no site control. And you have very little control over what can happen. You can create zoning, you can try to do incentives, but without site control, you really don't have the control that you have here. So it's not something to be taken lightly. You have an extraordinary opportunity here because you have site control of these 3 parcels. And we're thinking that this is high quality. These are the things you want. You want to support existing businesses. We, in our focus group, and we've heard it continually, many of them are hurting. There's not enough activity in the village, in Kensington Village. There's not a good enough image and for people to come here. And so how do we support existing businesses? How do you strengthen an identity for Kensington Village, increase the tax base, and provide a civic center or destination for residents? Because we also believe that this site can serve not only the village, but everyone in town in some way. And so the reasons why this site is so important, I talked about that it's the only site. So it's the only site that's owned by the town that is available for transit-oriented development in Kensington Village. And we recognize the need for a police station, but there are other sites that could be suitable for a police station because it's not dependent on the proximity to the train station. But there's only one site where the development is dependent on proximity to the train station and here in the village. In my interviews with police personnel, the police station has about 40 or 50 visits per day. So that's a limited use compared to how much foot traffic might be generated by having apartments there as well as ground floor commercial space. So we're looking to try to infuse activity. There would be no contribution to the ground floor commercial use, or very little if it were a police station. So that's really not supporting your other goals within Kensington Village. We also think that the parking needed and the movement for emergency vehicles and the noise and the disruption is not conducive to a core village pedestrian environment that you want to attract people to come. We did a little bit of an assessment. Some of the challenges here, the boulevard is really essential to get access to the train station and future development, unlocking that potential for Berlin Steel. But right now, that boulevard takes up about 30% of the site, and it really segments. If this were developed as a police station, we have no frontage on Farmington, so we've not met a key goal, nor does that then support existing development that right now is vacant. So really trying to build on that. And then frontage for any residential development here is set back, so you don't really see it from Farmington. So you're losing an opportunity for a kind of strong building there. And what ends up happening is you've got a building here that would be residential, but it's really going to be in a sea of parking. And if you're trying to attract quality, market rate development, and have people who are going to shop and dine in Kensington Village, you would have to look at that, all of you, and say, would you want to live in an apartment building next to pavement here, all parking here, parking around it, next to a police station with emergency vehicles coming out all the time? And we think the answer is no. And so if you're trying to attract quality development, the scenario doesn't work very well within that. So what we're looking at are a couple of things. We're looking at really trying to create a sense of place. We're looking at 2 different boulevard schemes that are slightly different from the one that was proposed in order not to be so disruptive to bringing the site together as a whole development piece. One is coming through a middle of a site, kind of just like a street, and coming off into the train station and can future go right into Berlin Steel. And the other is coming all the way over near the edge of the site and going into either Berlin Steel in the future and then passing here. And each of them have their downsides and upsides, but it's really about trying to create a residential development, ground floor commercial signature restaurant of some sort that's got a little bit of green space. It can be a focal point. We're looking at a pathway system from the other neighborhoods around. You would come here. You could come here for Sunday brunch. You could sit in this park. There could be public art. It's not only about development for who's here, but it's about giving back some amenities to the community. And this is really other reasons. This is about location, location, location. This is an ideal location for this kind of development and attracting millennials, empty nesters. The town's already made an investment in the site, and I would say you also have price protection. Often when we start to do these projects, there's an escalation in asking price for sites because of the expectation of value added from the planning study. The town has locked in that price protection. You've already paid the money for the sites. You've already started to do some cleanup. And the site control is everything. So there's very little risk involved for the town. You can issue a request for qualifications that are non-binding to see what you can get and really set the tone for the quality of development. You can control the developer selection process. You can require public amenities, public realm improvements such as green space. And you can set conditions for ground floor commercial leasing and use, including if that space is not leased, that it's given free of charge to local arts, community, nonprofit groups that are going to activate the street. This happens in a lot of places where it's hard initially to rent ground floor space. You can write that into the RFQ. And revenue producing calculations done by economic development in the town, about $275,000 to $300,000 a year in taxes in private development. So just to look at this, we really see this as a catalyst. Those are the sites. We've talked a little bit about the reasons. We're looking at residential, ground floor, commercial, green space along with this, the boulevard coming in, parking set back and around, so it's a strong image from Farmington, and people who are living here feel like they're part of a community as opposed to just in the middle of a parking lot. We have a couple of different scenarios. In this one, there would be 37 one-bedroom units. We have 122 spaces of parking. That's 37 less than required at 1.5 spaces per unit and 1 space per 250,000. We're going to be making some recommendations about parking sharing within the town. Ground floor commercial is about 25,000 square feet. We're looking at requiring amenities that are pretty simple and inexpensive for a developer. Outdoor cafe seating areas, green space, public art. And what you really get is with these 3 sites is aggregating green space. So instead of just little green strips around the building, you pull it all together. You really have a sense of a central public space people can use and a destination for along green trails. So coming in from the Clay Pond and from Brickyard neighborhood and other places, there feels like a focal point here. And so, just to recap, if you want high quality market rate development here in Berlin, and we've heard that you do, you need some higher end amenities. So that means the development that has enough units that's going to provide some of these, not necessarily all of them. A community room or lounge, a fitness center. It's convenience. It's about being near the train station, having a management company that offers conveniences for residents who are going to demand that, and the surrounding amenities here. This is going to build over time. It's going to take a while to put all of these pieces together, but we know what the market would be here. So next steps, we would recommend considering issuing an RFQ for all 3 town-owned parcels, along with marketing materials and a message about this planning process and what you want for Kensington Village. Set some criteria about location of the roadway and boulevard, ground floor uses, public amenities, letting space go to private, not into nonprofits if they're not rented, so you at least activate those ground floor spaces, and then to participate in active recruitment. And we will provide materials for that as part of our planning work. And of course, the right to refuse all qualifications packages. So there's no risk involved here, and some real upside if this works out.
Anyway, just as an update, I know over time, I think everyone knows we're looking for alternate spaces or some place eventually to locate the police station. Since in the last year, what we've done is we have gone out for an RFQ, and we did have a architect look at what we could do as far as renovating, do some limited renovation of the existing police station downstairs. We came up, they came up with a design, including most of the money went to renovating the cell space. The cell spaces are antiquated, and we do need to update those. And there are some modifications in offices and restrooms. The estimated cost for that was about $1.1 million. So we looked at that. As subsequent to that, we also have entered into conversations with New Britain to see whether or not we could utilize some of their cell space. They have a police station, and they seem to may have some additional space. That conversation is in the very preliminary stages. We're not sure whether or not that's going to work, but a lot of the emphasis in the state is to try to utilize group activities, try to utilize towns. Have the same services, use the services of one town to another, and go back and forth. So that conversation is ongoing. Also, it's just as an exercise, we are looking at, the town has a significant number of buildings which either are underutilized or not utilized. And as part of the conversation, we looked at the downstairs of this building and saying, okay, is it a possibility to expand the police station downstairs? Space-wise, it's about the same amount was proposed in the recommendation for Farmington Avenue space-wise. Jim mentioned that there was a previous study. We've spoken with the fire marshal and the building inspector, and if that space was renovated, it would not require an entire renovation of the building and bringing it up to code.
Based on, and I know we should be speaking into the mics, but I'm going to ask the mayor if I could have some comments once Jack's done about this, because it's going to make me crazy.
And so we discussed that. Space-wise, it works. There's a lot of other things that would have to occur. Relocation of the Board of Ed. Their spaces. Could they go to a school? Could we rent space? Could we relocate them to downstairs in the library if we were able to come up with a community center where we were able to move the services and recreation department from there, and there's some discussion about that, being able to partner with another firm to come up with space for the park and rec and the town. So there are options there that we're looking at. Also, as part of the downstairs move, if that was able to be functional, would be that we have a lot of record storage. We're going through business continuity now. We're trying to, limit the number of records that we have. Are there other ways of storing records? Do you store records on site? Do you go off site? These are options that we would look at and be able to, in order to go and relocate downstairs. We're also looking at other locations, but those are the studies that we're performing right now to see what the options are to the town.
So.
Do you mind?
No.
All right. So
be my guest.
I have some major concerns about kind of some of the statements, Mr. Healy, that you made regarding the police station. We've been there and done that 3 times with renovating downstairs for the police station. Each time it was more expensive than building a new police station. I know some on this council kept wanting to go back to see if it would be lower. Each time we got a more expensive number. We were also told, based on federal regulations, that we would have to modify the whole building to be to code with what the federal rules and regulations are. So I think we need to go back and make sure that if we renovate that, a substantial portion, and I don't remember what the percentage was, if it was 40 or 50%, then the whole building had to be up to code, and it wasn't. So I think we need to make sure that we have our ducks in a row if that's the route we're going. And I really would hate to see this town, based on no strategy, put 1.2 million into a renovation that would then have to be renovated again because we didn't have a plan going forward for a police station. We have been talking in this town about a new police station for 5 or 6 years. When the town council voted down the police station on Farmington Ave, we were told that they were going to have a plan. I haven't heard a plan yet. This is the first time I'm hearing it, and there's so many holes in it. I'm really concerned about selling the Farmington Ave site. When we did our search, that was the only site we came up with, based on the police chief, based on surveys that were done. And so you're telling me there's other areas? I haven't seen them. And I've been on the council for the whole time we were looking for them. Once we sell that land is gone. There's no forward thinking in terms of what we're going to do with the police station. Someone got up this evening, Mr. Lamaglio got up and said, we need a new police station. We can't ignore it. The problem doesn't go away. And we have to think strategically. I'm all about having a great downtown, but not at the expense of cost-wise and future-wise about what we're going to do in terms of that police station. So I have a lot of concerns about voting in favor of moving forward with the RFQ.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
I just have a question. Is there, since Farmington Avenue seems to be, the frontage is a valuable commodity, would there be any chance of approaching the state? They took a building down on Farmington Avenue and made it parking. Could the boulevard go there? Is there any chance the state would cooperate with that? That would save cutting the site in half.
We actually had a discussion with the state on finding a way to potentially either have that site for our use or some kind of a land swap. The problem is it was incredibly cost prohibitive because we would have needed to provide them with the same amount of parking spots as we would be taking from them.
Can they use some of the area where the train station used to be to swap for those parking spaces? Because the train station was town property at one time, wasn't it, or controlled by the town?
It may have, as of right now, it is actually owned by Amtrak.
Amtrak.
Yes.
So we
And
can't
leased-
use that
leased
for
to
the
the
swamp,
state.
for the land swap.
Yeah, I mean, I think ballpark, if they gave us the land, it would cost us over $1 million to give them back what they wanted, just for the 0.3 acres of land. We had quite a few discussions right
It
after
just seemed to be such a logical spot to put that.
I agree. I absolutely agree with you, Councilman Payanessa. But we went through this long process because we were wondering why you would take such a valuable piece. And as hard as we tried it, it did not make sense. It was going to cost the taxpayers much more money than the frontage was worth.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
A couple more things. One, I know that, and I apologize, I didn't catch your name. One of the statements that was made is that people would not want to live next to a police station with loud sirens and, one of the things is we have a fire station right across the street. That's not going anywhere. So there's already going to be noise there. The other thing is that was discussed initially when we wanted to put the police station on Farmington Ave. And what we were told is the majority of the time those cars are not at the station. So they're not leaving the station with their sirens going. If there's an emergency, they're already on the road. So the noise isn't coming from the police station. So I just want to make sure, and I applaud what you presented to us tonight. I think it's a great vision, but I want to make sure we are thinking holistically about what we know is an issue in this town, and that is the police station. And if we vote to sell that land, it is gone. There's no place left. You see places like Rocky Hill, all their land is gone. We need to make sure that we know what we're going to do with a police station before I can move forward. That's sorry.
Problem. The thing is, we're not voting to do that tonight. We're not voting to do that next week or next month. What this is about is planning ahead. That's what we're talking about here. That's what this study is about. We're looking at a site to see if it is possible to do a commercial development there. We don't know what the, we know what the economic climate is in Connecticut. It's not that great right now, as we know. So this is not disrespecting the new police station or knowing we don't need a new police station. We know we need to do something about that, and this is part of the plan to see if that still is the best spot, and to see if anybody's interested in developing that whole spot. Maybe proposals come in and they're horrible. I mean, we're not voting on anything to do anything other than to see if there's some commercial interest in developing that spot. That's all we're talking about right now. And I don't see why we wouldn't go forward and know the answers to those questions before we move forward without a plan and just decide to stick a police station there because we decided that was the place it needed to go without any other information. I think that's not prudent at all as a community. That's a huge development area. That's a showpiece for Berlin. That's a showpiece for the state with their TOD development that we approved in planning and zoning many years ago. And so we're actually looking at all the options of what we're doing. We're not foreclosing the options with just putting a police station there and saying, oh, there, we're done. I mean, that's not what the purpose of this is. We're not voting to do anything tonight. Or if we put the RFQ out, we're voting to see maybe there's some good options, maybe there isn't. And we talked a little bit about the other thing you guys probably, I'm sure you've heard about this, and a lot of the towns, you know, it's difficult in Connecticut with regionalization. Very difficult discussion in Connecticut, but we all know what we're facing with the budget. And when we had a meeting with the Speaker of the House recently, we talked about regionalization, and we talked about sharing space with the New Britain Police Station. And he said, you know, that's something you guys should look at because sooner or later we're probably just going to force towns to regionalize. So you may be the head of the curve if you look about some regionalization of some services. So, you know, it's coming from the state too. They're sort of asking us to regionalize certain services. So it's something that we are exploring. Nothing is mandating us to do it. Not saying we're going to do it or not do it, but we're trying to look at all options. So there is a plan. The plan is to look at all options before we make a decision, not just to make a decision based upon one option. That doesn't make any sense to me. But that's my opinion.
I would say if you're talking about regionalization, I've talked about regionalization here before.
Mm-hmm.
When we're talking about something like our public safety, if you're having those conversations with the mayor in New Britain, I would just say, please make sure that you're looping in the police chief. And
he was there.
Great. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. That was what I was asking. Number one. Number two, I would just ask that we please make sure in whatever contract we draw up with them that we have some very rigorous criteria around our responsibilities and what we have a say in. We are a much smaller town than New Britain is, and there are good things about regionalization. I grow a little concerned when we start talking about public safety and what that may mean to the lack of service that we may get. I'm not opposed to it. I think it's great that you're having that conversation. I would just say, as you are having those conversations, I would ask that we make sure that there are some rigorous rules around what it is that Berlin is in charge of and what we're not. And
Yes.
I'm sure you're not even there yet.
No,
I'm just saying,
right.
as you start that conversation, it's important, again, to look at what happens 10 years down the road. We know kind of what happens with some other kind of things that we've done together with New Britain, and we've kind of gotten swallowed up. So think forward.
Anything that we do is coming to the council. I'm not making any unilateral decisions. These are just initial conversations that actually the police department has already had with sharing cell space and doing some other things, perhaps with the dispatch center moving forward. So these are animal control. So these are some conversations that have been ongoing. So again, these are just conversations, and anything we do, I would demand it all come to the council, and that we as a group are going to decide what we think is the best way to go along with our town managers. Yes?
So I'm all for looking at all the options and looking at all the facts. I'm an options girl. I'm somebody who likes data and information. So I think if we get enough data and information on which to make a decision, that's great. So, if we put this out and see that it's not going to work, then obviously
it's not an option,
right? That we're going to have that discussion up here. Right. Another thing about the regionalization, this is sort of a little off topic, but we need to be careful. And so as far as like our strategy goes, negotiating the contract the first time, That'll probably be the easier one, but as soon as they know we don't have any cells downstairs and that we need them, they're going to probably try and take advantage of us, would be my guess, as far as how much we're paying them and things like that. So we need to be careful.
Well, just on the cell space, just so we're clear, the cell space is just a temporary solution until we either build a new police station or renovate ours. That's not the long-term solution. That's just temporary because obviously we're looking at cost savings, because what we have to do now is if we have people in our cells downstairs, we have to hire an off-duty police officer to watch them. So New Britain, the larger department, typically has people in their cell block at night, and they could cover it for us. They've already covered it for us. So moving forward, just for the short term, before we make any decision about the police station, whether it's renovate, whether it's new, whatever we do, that's kind of temporary. Yeah, just
Right.
so we're clear on that.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but my concern is that we're looking at pieces, right? We're looking at this piece with New Britain and this piece with the land and then the piece over here with the police station. When this comes to us, it needs to come to us as an entire package
Well,
at
I
the same
agree.
time, on the same day, on the same agenda, so we can talk about each of those pieces in turn.
That's kind of what we're talking about doing, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I agree with it. We're on the same page, yeah. Yes, sir.
We'll just add another component about that transit-oriented development area. There is south of Farmington Ave, right next to the train station, some housing development above commercial space that isn't utilized currently. And so as a part of that, a part of this looking in that area, we'd want to understand what has happened there. There are folks now that have moved in there. How is that conducive then to what's going to happen across the street? So I would ask that as economic development and Civic Moxie and any other groups look at it, they look at data, as Councilor Campanella has indicated, that we also look at the data of what has occurred since some of the developments has occurred in that area also.
Yeah, so we have a little bit of a go-by to see how that has gone, and I'm not sure that's gone very well. The commercial space is still open, and I don't know how the rentals are going, but I think there are people renting them. But I think that's all part of the puzzle, and that's why we do need to proceed with caution. No doubt about it, and we will be. Yes, sir, Chris, come on up.
Just a couple quick things here. Just with the first floor of the space, I've actually been working with them. The biggest challenge at this point is the cost that the property owner is putting on any tenant that comes in. That has been the biggest detriment at this point. They will essentially plumb it out, give you HVAC, but a lot of the rest of it, and the cost is very, very huge on businesses. And again, we continue to work with them, but that's been the biggest issue at this point. A couple things just from an RFQ perspective is building off of some of the things we have done. Avenue Restaurant, the brewery coming, Ramen Ya, Lebeniak. The private sector investment that could come potentially up, bringing it back on the tax rolls. And I think, as Susan had said, the fact that we do have the control. We do have the ability to say we'd like to partner with this one, not with this one. We do get to do this once, no question. And we don't necessarily have to say yes to anybody. I do think this is an opportunity as well as we've had discussions with Berlin Steel. If we have a great project here, Berlin Steel could be the next one. Again, no guarantees whatsoever. But this property is 3 acre, theirs property is approximately 12 acres. And this could be something that really moves us along. And again, I would agree wholeheartedly. Be cautious, make sure we're doing the right thing for both the present and long term. But let's find out what the private sector can do, because I think there is an interest. A couple areas which have done projects. One's right next to us, Meriden and New Britain, near transit. Windsor, beautiful apartments and developments, and in West Hartford. So it's happening in a lot of communities, both those that we would look akin to us and those such as West Hartford. So it is happening in a lot of places. It's not necessarily just we're getting a development like that particular community. So I just ask that you keep it open, and I know you are, but I think from our perspective, we want to see what makes sense. We don't want something that comes in and everybody says, oh my God, what did we do? We want this to be a partnership, work with someone who will then bring us forward wherever that next step is. Thank you.
Quick
Thanks,
question,
Chris. Yep.
Chris, everything in here says is referring to rental units. Is there anything in the RFQ that might open it up to home ownership units? Maybe looking for people that are long-term residents?
We've been having discussions right now on potentially putting rental or condos in there. I know right now, again, I don't know nearly enough about condos, but that was actually discussed at the Economic Development Commission level. I think it makes sense to put it in there to leave the opportunity, because you're right. Condos are a different kind of a mix. Home ownership is different. From a banking perspective, I'm not a banker, but I think that's a different way to look at it, and I think Jim would like to add something.
Okay. Just a quick point, and again, we're going to have a committee, we're going to come back with an RFQ, but I think the philosophy that we're advocating with the RFQ is to start, with flexibility. Don't pigeonhole it. It's got to be this, it's got to be that. Give the developers flexibility, but tell them we're looking for, high quality project, a project that's going to be a catalyst to the area and such, and let's see what they come up with. So that's kind of that's the philosophy we're going to, as staff, we're advancing. We'll talk to the committee if you decide to go that way and bring it to you for a final decision. But that's what we're advocating. Let's go out, let's provide flexibility in the RFQ, and hopefully that'll have a good result.
Yes.
Another question on the Boulevard location presentation there. With what's driving that being in there? I've heard different reasons, but if there's any kind of explanation on that, and why wouldn't it be going through the access through toward the train itself? If that's already an access point coming around the backside to that, what's the push for the Boulevard? Whether it's through the center of it, to the side of it, that's kind of a question I have. I know it's maybe just a suggestion in all of it, but what's the driving factor for even mentioning it?
Well, I think what we're trying to do is move forward, and again, the whole discussion, the evaluation process, at that, we're going to get a decision. Are we, and is this going to be a private development, or we're going to reaffirm the idea that the police station is going to be there, and we can plan on that basis. And again, we know that next year, 2018, is when commuter rail is going to start. So, we talk about the vacancies in Depot Crossing. Well, Depot Crossing has been there for a lot of years before you had the commuter rail. That's really the reason that brought it in. So things are going to be happening, and one of the things that our feeling is, again, I kind of laid out the timeline before, and we've been working on this for a while, but that, we also were looking to show progress on these projects, and that showing progress is going to help attract that investment interest. And so we feel like, let's make a decision, on the Boulevard. And when we looked at it, again, Susan laid out two options, but, it's essentially, whether minimizing the distance of the Boulevard, which would bring us in on the west side of the site. Then we go out, we want to straighten it out to maximize the development area. We want to bring it back to the back of the site and bring it around to maximize, again, the development area. So, we think there's a couple of logical alternatives, and let's make a decision, and we can get going on the Boulevard. And again, we've been working at this for a while, so that's something a piece we thought we could really get moving on. So that's, again, part of our thinking here.
I have a question on the Boulevard, and maybe Mr. Delaney, I saw you walk in, so sorry. It is about the grant for the Boulevard. One, do we still have that money? And two, are we in jeopardy of losing it if we don't start moving on it?
Well, we have the money, and again, we have the money on the brownfields remediation of 889. And, obviously there's always a risk if you don't spend the money. So that's why we feel it's important, again, if we can decide on the location of the Boulevard, then we can also start the remediation. We can do the remediation under the Boulevard and, again, start to spend all that money, which I think is a good idea.
Yeah.
So we agree.
I would,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is the Boulevard needed for the development of the site?
I think it's, I think that, again, the council, we've made a decision previously on the Boulevard that is, that we're going to build it, we're going to have an entrance to the train station, that it can be an element of, an overall revitalization project. Civic Moxie looked at the concept plans with the boulevard.
I understand all that. Yeah.
Right, but
When I
my
heard all
point-
that,
yeah.
I was under the assumption there was going to be a police station there. And now they're saying, well, maybe that's not the best use of the property. And if that's not going to be the police station site, do we even need the boulevard? Who needs it? I mean, why do we want to build it if it's going to cut the site in half?
Yeah, again, our thoughts are that it's, we're recommending the boulevard, but we're going to go through this whole, we're going to do the analysis process. And the two key decisions are, first initial decisions are, the boulevard and no boulevard and general path of boulevard. If you give us that guidance, we'll go ahead and design it and get it going. And RFQ or no RFQ, if RFQ, we may have the potential for the private development. No RFQ, we decided to reserve the site for the police station. Whatever those decisions are, then we can move forward, with the rest of the project.
Why not do an RFQ that gives them the option to either consider the boulevard or not the boulevard? You seem to be ruling it out from the beginning.
You have them comments.
We're discussing this, and I think it's important, and they've got a presentation for us, and I'd like a discussion on it.
Our understanding is that the boulevard is not only for that site, but it's also the bigger picture of what's in the interest of the town. So we have a 12-acre Berlin steel site that sits behind this site that really development potential is really unlocked if you get access to that site from Farmington Avenue as opposed to going around the back way. And so the boulevard serves a number of purposes. It provides a clearer path to the train station, and it also allows access, potential future access for Berlin steel. So if you leave it to a developer in the RFQ, they're not thinking about the bigger picture, which is the town's job. They're going to only think about that site. So that would be one reason to keep that requirement in. Yes.
My thinking was, does the train station really want the boulevard? Do they want that access? And would that help the state encourage a better deal to us to get that frontage back on Farmington Avenue? Could we leverage the...
I believe they did want it, which is I think why we ended up getting the grant for the boulevard. Would it give us any leverage? I don't believe so at this point.
Can I ask, council member, why are we so opposed to the boulevard? I'm just trying to understand your rationale for why we don't want a boulevard.
My thinking is if you want to develop the site, a more contiguous, larger site is better for a developer. And why chop it in half with a street if we could get the state to give us the other land, which would give more frontage on Farmington Avenue. I'm just trying to find a way to encourage the state to give us back that Farmington Avenue frontage. That was my thinking.
I would truly love to. I mean, we probably went about a 6-month process and did everything, including pulling every friend and otherwise we could. And when the numbers ran, it was beyond scary. We were literally getting 3/10 of an acre for over $1 million, and it's too bad because had it been earlier in the process, which I know there was an attempt to do that, and I mean, I think the access from Farmington Avenue into the train station in some fashion would definitely have a benefit. Again, where it fits in from the private sector side, I'm not sure, but I know too that from talking to folks, it does give that path to it. Again, whichever it is from inside outside, but I know too that it is definitely something to be discussed, no question about it. Yes.
So I'm not saying get rid of the boulevard. I'm saying it sound from Mr. Mahoney, you're saying like we got to decide whether the boulevard's in or out. I'm saying go to the RFP with it in or out. They could come from another, work with other alliances or whatever they have as they come to develop it and find another path in that suits the need. Maybe it's the general scope that we want to have an additional access into there. So do RFPs all the time. We explore some options, we add some things to that. I don't see it as an issue where we have to go out and say it has to have a boulevard and we're not going to consider any other options. You go out, you say I want a boulevard going through here, and also let me know if you could solve this situation we'd like in another fashion. That's all I'm saying. Not saying throw the bait, throw it out.
I would agree with you, Councilor Evans. I do believe that, and why I think the RFQ makes sense, is have the private sector come back to us and tell what is possible. They know better than most. When we've seen development done by government entities, it doesn't always work out well. And yes, I would love to see what the possibilities are, and I think that's something we definitely can take a look at through the RFQ process and the committee on that language.
Thank you.
Okay. So, yes.
I just want to add.
Yes.
Sorry. I just want to make sure the council considers one other piece as you're looking at the RFQ. The property we're talking about, 903 and 913 in particular, were purchased with bonds. And so there are implications of selling it. So as you go through the RFQ process, one of the requirements to avoid converting all these bonds to taxable and resulting in a fairly large interest payment for the town is that we have to have an appraised value, and the property must be sold for fair value. So there is the consideration of kind of trading off the property for some development. It's critical. Jack, Jim, Chris and I had a conversation with bond counsel, and it'll be essential that we continue to talk with him as we go through this. Otherwise, there could be unintended negative financial consequences to the town. The RFQ is not a problem. We've already talked to him about that. But as you go through evaluating it, I think the bond consideration is one that we have to keep in mind.
Good to know. Okay, so next up, are you going to send it to EDC, or what are we, or they're still finishing up? But what's the next step? I know we're not making any, obviously, decisions tonight, but what, is it going to EDC, or are we just going to make the decision? Or I thought you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'll make these decisions on the issuing the RFQ.
Okay.
I think what we wanted to do was start with a discussion, because obviously, as we've heard tonight, there's lots of issues, and then give everybody a chance to think about it. We'll bring it back and make a recommendation, and then the council can give us guidance.
Okay, so we're going to bring it back next meeting after?
We can bring it back to next meeting if you're ready, or you want, how much time do you want?
Well, I mean, I would certainly know sooner. We've heard it. If we have questions over the next couple of weeks, I would say we talk to Tony, we talk to, Chris Edge, so you can answer some more questions if we have it next time. Yeah.
Just so that I'm 100% clear, if we decide to go forward with this RFQ, we don't need to, even if we go out and ask, we don't need to go forward with any of it. We're not bound by anything.
Right, and again, we talked to bond counsel, they'll be looking at it, corporation counsel will look at it. Well, we have language in all our RFQs that, gives the town the right to reject any and all, offers.
Okay.
Okay, so if you would, Jack or Jim and Chris, just next meeting, just bring it back. If we have questions in the next couple of weeks, we will give you a call, and we'll see what everybody wants to do.
Thank you.
Mayor, let me just add one other thing.
Yep.
In structuring RFP, certainly we'll look for recommendations, but many times you can do an RFP where you say, this is the required bid, and then you can say, here I want an option deduct or option add to do something. And that's the concept I was talking about with respect to Boulevard or anything else that you think is strongly important to be part of the prime bid or the main bid in your proposal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and then I think we're kind of proposing a two-step process where the first step is give us direction to go ahead and do it and create a committee, an RFQ committee, which is what we did with previous properties. And then let the committee will meet and discuss the details of the RFQ, probably take about another month, come back to you with, some of these details that we're talking about, flexibility, how do we structure it, and then you get to take a look at it and authorize it before it gets issued.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay.
All right.
Yes.
Agenda item number 7 is the adoption of the 2017-2018 town budget and set the mill rate.
Okay. Thank you, Susan, by the way. Thank you, Civic Moxie, for your work. Okay. So, discussion before we move forward. We've had our referendum. We've seen the results. What do we say? The floor is open for some discussion on this before we make any motion.
I'd like to hear from the chair.
Sure, absolutely.
So interesting results with respect to the votes. Again, more no votes than yes. There's a lot of ways, and I thought I had one way, but as I asked a lot of questions, there was a lot of dicing of how you interpreted maybe the advisory questions with respect to that. We took a look at what is left there with respect to, what else can we reduce. There was some input that I received that would want to add amounts to the Board of Ed. There were some that felt that we need to reduce things overall. So I think there's some options there. We even heard at the beginning of this meeting with respect to chairs and how we could handle that. So if there's some potential reductions, I would certainly turn to staff again. I've reached out to them asking what kind of reductions might be available to them. So I'm open to go in either direction, and so that's why I'm basically coming here and had asked initially, and I've received varying input. So I think it's time just to open a discussion on directions that folks would like to take with it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we did, maybe Kevin would be the one. Hello. Obviously, there were some votes either way, and there was some votes that said the town budget was too high, even though it was negative, which is interesting. But what did we find with the town as far as a reduction with the town budget? Is there something we could do?
Jack and I have met, and we found two opportunities for position eliminations, which bring the town budget, would bring the budget down another $150,000. You'll recall when we were going through the budget committee meetings, Councilor Evans had requested from all the department heads in the town a 7.6% reduction. What would that impact be? Taking $150,000 out would put us $110,000 below that number for town department heads. It would, as the mayor mentioned, we came into this at about 1/3% down from prior year. There really isn't any capital, which is, I would say, concerning as we go into the year. We're going to be in a position where we need to hope that there aren't a lot of issues. I will say coming into the year that we've targeted a few areas where we think there are cost savings opportunities, and as a result of that, you'll note in the budget that we used money in the fund balance, and the purpose there was we believe there's an opportunity. The most pronounced is a shift on the town side from a PPO HSA plan to more of an encouraging aspect to the HSA and much greater employee share, i.e. stick and carrot approach. We believe that that's going to result in a greater shift to HSA and lower medical costs. However, I'm not comfortable with enough that that's going to happen because the mix is uncertain. So I didn't want to put it into the budget, frankly, because I would have no idea how to put that in. We build at an employee level. At the same time, knowing that that's out there and that's a concerted effort, in fairness to the citizens, we also didn't want to tax for that. And that's where the biggest share of the fund balance was intended to be used, so that we would put savings into the budget. So if we realize that benefit, we wouldn't touch the savings. If the cost savings isn't realized, then we would have fund balance to help us at least this year. So that was kind of the purpose there. The $150,000 represents the elimination of 2 positions at the town.
Which are going anyway. There were positions that were 2 retirements, I guess, right?
They were individuals, but not necessarily positions.
Yeah.
Right.
So distinguishing between.
So
Yeah.
I have to put my 2 cents in. So we are elected officials by the people of this town. It is up to us to make the right decisions for the town, not the right decisions for your party. I will not support any more money being taken from this town side. We are at the bone. We came in less than what we asked for last year. I commend all of the department heads for what you did. We have done an injustice to this town by what we have done in the past couple of budgets. We have taken everything out of capital. We are not doing Scalise Field. We are not willing to put money into our infrastructure. And now we're talking about eliminating 2 employees. We don't even know, I don't know what those employees are, what their roles are. The morale in this town hall right now is at an all-time low. And to do this now, we are a sinking ship. People are leaving left and right. I will not support that option. And I'm surprised it was even brought up, I have to say. It
Well,
is
it's an
just
option
shocking
for
to me.
discussion. I mean, that's why we brought it up. That's what
But
we're here to do,
I've yet,
correct?
you all asked us what our opinion
Yes,
was.
and-
I've yet to hear what your solution is. You're waiting
We're-
for
I
us to
just-
tell you.
No, I just brought up an option.
Okay.
Did the voters say that the town budget was too high? Am I reading the numbers wrong, I guess, perhaps? They are the voters. I thought we heard that, but maybe they don't matter. I don't know to you. I don't know. So, okay, so that's one option for the town side. The school budget. What do we think about the school budget? Too high, too low? It's kind of split down the middle. 60 votes more for too low. Yes?
The voters said the Board of Ed budget was too low. I
Okay.
think we need to put more money in it.
Oh,
I
so we
think
listen to
I am-
those voters, but not to the town side. Is that what
I
you're
didn't
saying?
comment on the
No.
town's budget,
Okay.
and you can
Okay.
ask Mr. Evans what my comment was regarding the
Okay.
town's budget.
Right.
Because I did respond to his text messages.
Okay, I don't know what that response was.
Well,
I apologize. You
then,
can tell me.
then
shared
you know,
prior to
perhaps
this
we should have
meeting.
had a meeting before this to have this discussion. It's infuriating that I'm
it's a-
doing things over text message
It's a
and
public
that like
hearing. We're here to discuss it. What's wrong with
this
that?
is
It's an
not a
agenda
public
item.
hearing. It's a public meeting.
Yes.
There's a difference. Number one.
Yes.
Number
To
two.
discuss an agenda item that is a public.
Right. An agenda
Agenda.
item that has blank spaces.
Because we haven't made a decision yet.
there was
have
no.
we-
There's.
This
Have we
is
made
how
a
the
decision?
agenda item has been presented every year for the past several years.
Why
Yeah,
is it
but
so
we've
different
always
this
met
year?
prior to this. I just feel like I expected you guys to come
We
here with what
have-
you wanted to offer, and we haven't heard one way or another. So
I
I'm
just
waiting to hear
offered
the
one thing and
numbers.
you didn't like it. That's one thing. That's so
Okay.
far. That's one thing.
So, I need to go back to what I was saying about
Yeah.
the Board of Ed budget. So,
Please.
the voters said the Board of Ed budget was too low. I think we need to put more money in. I see Mr. Irwin's here,
Mm-hmm.
Eva's here. I'm hopeful that somebody had a discussion with them prior to tonight about what things they need to put in that budget. Has anybody over there had that discussion?
I had a brief discussion with Matt Tenza, but my question is, where would that money come from? Because as we just heard, it's cut to the bone. So where are we going to get the funding to give the school more money? That's what I'd like to know, because we couldn't find it anywhere.
So you're going to listen to the town voters, but not the school
Right,
voters.
No, that's-
it goes both
I
ways
didn't
here,
listen
Mayor.
I know. Well, the same with you. I mean, obviously, it's the same thing for you guys, right? It seems to be one way for you and a different way for us. But go
So,
ahead.
but my question was,
Where would the money come from for the school? And how much money are you proposing? Do you have a figure?
that's what I'm asking you. Did you ask the superintendent what he needs?
Listen.
So I think
We
the
had discuss-
leadership
wait.
of this town needs to
Yeah.
tell us, and that's you guys.
Yeah.
What are you suggesting?
Well, here's
Rather than waiting for us to make an offer, you guys are going to vote on what you've decided. So why can't
No, we
you
haven't
just share
decided
that?
anything. It's a discussion here. We haven't decided anything.
It's
I don't
not
know
a
why you-
discussion. I just wish you'd tell us what it is that you'd like to do.
I feel very strongly like I am
I
coming
wanna
at this
hear-
from a deficit because I have no facts, I have no information, there's no meeting, there's no discussion with the Board of Ed, as far as I know.
We had a public hearing with the board of it here together that you could have asked any questions you wanted
Yes,
to. Did
and
you ask
that-
those questions? or
Yes,
not?
of course, and that was
Okay, did you get the answer?
Of course.
Then why are you asking me?
Because
Ask-
this is
let's bring
after the
superintendent
budget
up.
vote, the budget.
No, it's before the vote. What are you talking about?
Yes,
We
Mark,
are
I
now
understand.
after.
You're not understanding what I'm
No, I
saying.
understand what you're saying. This is after
I-
the vote now,
I-
yes.
Right,
I
now we're
understand that.
after the vote.
Mhm.
So we talked before the vote. We set the budget based on that discussion
Right.
before the vote.
And
the
nothing's
public
changed.
voted
Right.
and said that they don't like it.
Mhm.
So now we're here and we need to respond to the public
Well,
who
60
said that they don't like it.
60
And I'm Mark.
people voted they don't like it. I get it.
You know what,
Yes.
Mark? I'm not trying to argue with you. I really just want to get everything I want to say out there and on the
Okay.
record so I can move on.
Yeah, okay,
All
get
right.
it on the record, please.
Thank you.
So where would the money come from to go to the Board of Ed? That's the problem I'm struggling with. If
I'm
we wanted
trying to
give them.
finish what. Can I just finish
Yes,
what I was saying
finish.
before you interrupt me with a whole bunch of questions?
Uh-huh.
And I'm happy to answer your questions.
Good.
But
Great.
I think you need to answer some of mine first because that's where we're at.
You have the floor.
Thank you. My concern is that nobody's had a conversation with the Board of Ed, so we don't know what they need. So us sitting here and saying, we'll give them 10,000, we'll give them 100,000, what does that mean to them? What you know, because when I sat in that public hearing, what I heard from people is, I want to put more money in the Board of Ed. I am concerned about Program X, Program Y, and Program Z. We know a little bit about how much those programs cost. Which things are we putting back in and which things are we not? I mean, that's
That's up to the Board of Ed, right?
right, but we need to figure out what amount of money we need to give them so that they can do that. We can't just pull in, and this is what I told Counselor Evans, we can't just pull a number out of the air, and that we should have a discussion with people. I'm not just going to say, okay, $50,000, great, here, Board of Ed, take $50,000. What does that mean to them? That's not making a decision based on facts and data. So I'm concerned about that. I want facts and I want data, and I feel like I don't have it right now, and I'm concerned about that.
We can get some tonight with the superintendent if we want to bring them up.
That
Mayor,
would be awesome.
we did receive that information. When Mr. Tenza presented it, he gave a listing of those things that they considered on that $1 million.
That's what I thought.
So it is itemized. So if there's a specific one you feel strongly about that you would like to add back, that's certainly an option. You know, I heard in the public hearing there was concern over art and music. There's a line item that says coordinators K through 12, art/music/physical ed, and the dollar amount was $17,907. So, you know, maybe that's a dollar amount you might want to consider to add back. There was a there was the cameras and security, but we took care of that. That was a $45,000 figure. They had indicated funding from the fiscal year 16-17 rebates. There was sports and other options that had roughly $30,000. We could maybe ask for what that specifically means, but that was a specific line item.
Right.
Those were kind of the two that I thought about. If we were to add back, and I thought everyone had, that was presented, that was available to folks. So if it wasn't, I can certainly forward that to share any of the numbers that's on that particular document.
So that was like, what'd you say, 30 plus 17, something like that. So that's about 50,000, which is a third of the 150 that I'm hearing that people want to eliminate from the town side. So my concern, and I think I conveyed this to you, Mr. Evans, via text, is that I am concerned about looking at this from a whole perspective and not just grabbing from one bucket and putting in another bucket. We need to look at what's working for the town and what we can take, and we need to look at what we need to give to the Board of Ed and what we can give, and it doesn't have to be the same number, but we need to figure something out.
I'm going to disagree. And I know this is what you guys are wanting us to say, so I'm going to say it. You know what? The townspeople spoke, and you guys ran on listening to the townspeople, and they voted it down. Okay, you already said you can interpret these numbers however you want. They voted it down. When budgets got voted down in the past, and we changed it, maybe $100,000 or $200,000. We lowered it. We got accused of not listening to what the people say, and not doing what they wanted us to do. And now we're in a situation where you guys are in the seats that we were in previously, and you don't want to make the changes because you know what? It's going to increase that mill. And if it is the right thing to do for this town, and the people who came out and voted said that they were willing to pay more.
Some of them.
So I'm going to say what you have been baiting us to say. If you can't find the money from the town side, increase the Board of Ed by $100,000. What does that mean from a mill perspective? 0.1, 0.15? You guys just do not want to increase the mill rate because you know you are running for election in November. And I'm sorry, I know you've been dying for me to say it, and I've said it. Do what's right for this town and what's right for the operations of this town hall.
So can I ask a
You
question?
cannot take any more money from the town.
Okay, so can I ask a question? So when our esteemed legislators come up with their budget, whenever that may be, and we decide now, let's say, to do another tax, add to our tax increase. So we just add some more taxes down the road? Is that what you're suggesting? We just do another tax increase when we realize we're going to get 500,000 cut, 1 million cut, 2 million cut? We have no idea what's going to happen.
The taxes
Exactly.
are
So is it very
already
prudent
going
to
to
go
be
forward?
increased. It's already going to be increased.
So why did we
We're gonna
have
have
a
to
vote?
increase
Why
it again,
why
right?
did we have a referendum? These are questions that we got asked over and over and over. Why do we have a referendum if you're not going to abide by the referendum rules? We got hammered on this.
We're discussing it now, and we haven't made a decision
Okay,
yet, have
you
we?
guys have yet to say what you want to offer. I've yet to hear it because you're waiting for us to give you what
I'm
we
letting
wanna
everyone
do.
speak. I'm sorry. I thought this we
Well,
could all
hold
speak.
on a second. I hear a lot of questions and arguments, and there's been a lot of interruptions here to ask questions and say, so what would you do? So what would you do? Well, that's great. We're telling you what we would do.
Okay, great.
But I haven't
It's the
heard
first I
what
heard it.
any
You're
of you
gonna
guys would do.
Well, I think I led off the discussion with 150 grand cut from the town side. I thought that's what I said, but
I think
maybe you
that's
weren't
what
listening.
Mr. Delaney said.
No, but
It is.
that's I agree with that. We went to him and asked him what else was there to cut from the town side. Councilor Evans just explained that. Did you not listen? I don't understand what you're listening to. We just said that. So there's 150,000 to cut out of the town side. The votes reflect the town budget's too high. We're listening to the voters. What do you not understand? We didn't get to the school question yet. Now we are. Now we're discussing it.
Right.
Okay.
There was none of that I didn't understand. I understood it perfectly well. My
Right.
concern is that
But we're
you're-
listening to just the school voters and not the town side? How you
Not at
vote?
all, Mark. You're not
Well, that's
listening
what
to what
Rachel
I've said.
said.
That's
what
not
I'm
at all what she
saying is
said.
we are here to make tough decisions. And
Yes, we are.
I can't, you guys know how hard this town budget was and how hard these town
Absolutely.
managers worked. And I think you sometimes have to do the right thing, even if it is.
We are.
Okay, all right, then we're not going to come to an impasse. So you know what my suggestion is. And if you don't like it, I
And
know
not-
you don't like it. Still.
But how do
But
you...
you're not going to give to the school board, is what I'm hearing you say.
We didn't say that.
That's what I heard.
Please stop
right?
interpreting what I say, please. Can I speak? I think I could speak for myself.
Okay.
Okay.
Enough with the snide
Yes.
remarks. You
okay.
don't intimidate
The same
me.
for you.
Okay.
We're not here winning an
excellent.
election. We're doing what's right for the town.
Okay.
You
You're
keep
not.
bringing that up, and I'm tired of hearing it for the
Can I
last year
just
and a half.
finish my original
Yes, you
comments
can.
before?
Yes,
okay.
you can.
So,
Please.
doing what's right for the town, right? We need to look at, as I said, what we're taking from the town side and not say it has to be exactly the same as what we're giving to the Board of Ed side. We need to look and say, is that the right thing for the town to take the money from that side? If that's what we truly think that it's the right thing to do, then that's what we should do. But we also need to look at the Board of Ed side and say, is this the right amount to give to them? And we need to make sure that that's appropriate for them and not just looking at, well, we took, 10 grand here and put 10 grand there. So
I agree.
that's my concern about doing what's right for the town. We need to look at each individual thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is not just a we're looking at everything overarching view. We need to really look at the impacts because that's what a budget is. A budget are dollars and cents assigned to actual impacts for our actual citizens.
I would like to know what the two positions are that are apparently going to be cut. Do you know what they are, Jack?
We do. I, in fairness to the people who have the positions,
it's
I
unfortunate.
don't think we should talk about it publicly right now. If Jack wants to.
Can we move to go into executive session?
Yeah,
I'd like to
really
move to go
know
into
what the
executive
impact
session.
is.
I think it's unfortunate.
And just before we go into executive session, just from the Board of Ed perspective, we had a meeting a couple weeks before the budget, and Mr. Tenza was here before, but he's not here, so I'll just quote what he said, that it is important to point out that this is the largest increase that the Board of Education has gotten in a number of years. So before this went to referendum, we took care of what we heard from the Board of Ed was their immediate needs. That was the reason for the $500,000 being added in. And that's the largest increase in several years. I guess I don't understand. I read the paper every day. It's a disaster in Connecticut with our budgets. Even our own governor has said we have to live within our means. For some reason, Berlin maybe doesn't, some people don't understand that, but we heard what the public said before the election, and that's why we gave them an increase. And again, the largest one in several years, in a tougher budget year than we've had. That's pretty significant in my eyes. Perhaps not in everyone's, but for what we had to go through to take care of the Board of Ed, I think we did a pretty fair job. And yeah, it is disappointing to see how the vote came out, but if you do look at the numbers, it's almost split down the middle, too high, too low for the Board of Ed, other than there's 60 votes to the low. That's the question. How much weight do we put on that? I don't know either. I'm trying to do the right thing. I mean, I'm trying to do the right... Pardon me?
What's the magic number?
There is no magic number. We're trying to do the right thing for everyone, and that's difficult to do. There is no magic number here.
So I don't think I
in this
interpreted
situation
correctly
there's
when
gonna-
you said no money for the school and money from the town, right? I just interpreted what you said correctly. You're not going to give more money to the
No,
school?
I'm just saying that's what's weighing in my decision. We haven't made a decision yet, have we? Why do you keep pushing me to make a decision? We're still talking
You're
about
pushing
it.
us to make a
No,
decision
I'm-
to tell you.
I'm pushing you for your thoughts.
You know what? You're supposed to be adults up there. I can't take it anymore.
Good.
You're
Good.
bringing up political, you bring it voting next November. You
All
are
right,
wrong.
please. It's
You're
all right.
supposed to get along, talk things out.
We will.
Be adults.
It would have been
All
nice
right.
if we had done that
All right.
first.
Good night.
Good
Night.
night.
You run our town.
No, I don't.
Mayor,
We
just,
all- Yes, yes.
okay, so maybe I see it a little bit differently here, but we've talked about things that I did. I, reached out to Mr. Delaney and Jack Healy to say, I actually asked him what was the remaining amount to get to the 7.6%, and they came back with actually even more than that, and said, hey, this is taking more than the 7.6% that I had asked about. So that's a figure. That's one of the figures we've talked about, and that's, maybe they could have come with something less, but they came with something more. I referred to some numbers specifically because I had heard that there was some interest in giving some more to the Board of Ed. So, and different folks had different numbers, and so then I went back to the document that Mr. Tenza had presented to us, and then correlated that with the the different folks that talked to us at the annual hearing, and that's why I pointed out the 30,000 and then the 17,000. So, maybe there's some other lines there, but those are the two that I kind of identified if we were looking towards adding more to the Board of Ed. And then there was maybe some clarification. I did look back on the budget that was voted on. There was roughly 14,000 in the community services. That again, to Mr. Healy's point, all the capital was taken out, so that 14,000 went to zero. And to get the chairs back in, that would represent $9,000. So if you then take that 150,000 and you subtract out 9,000, and if you subtract out 30,000 and subtract out 17,907, then and
So it
move
still
stuff
lowers
over
the
to the Board
budget.
of Ed, it still lowers
Can-
the budget overall. And that's kind of some of the feedback that I've gotten. So, yeah, go ahead.
So I understand that. I know Mr. Tenza's not here anymore. I just want to know what the priorities were for the Board of Ed based on that list that you have there. Dave, do you have any idea what Matt's priorities are? Or?
You want me to speak?
Yes, sir. Come on up, please.
When we had the conversation with Mr. Evans and the mayor, we talked about what we would really need to keep some of the positions. And what we heard loud and clear was making sure we kept our library media people, the technology integration people. We knew certain things were off the table. We looked closely. The issue that was discussed at length was the sports, and that $30,000, and it says other options, represents possibly freshman sports. The 17,907 that Mr. Evans mentioned are 3 district-wide coordinators. If we get the money as it is right now, we would look at a different way to look at least 2 of our 3 district coordinators. We do need some coordination. We might want to negotiate with the teachers to get a different amount of money. Again, I don't speak for the Board of
Right, no, I
Education.
understood.
However, I would say if you were going to add anything back, the 30,000 would take the burden off of the sports and other options. But that was not a final definitive amount that we were going to cut the sports. We were going to look at other things. What I mentioned with Mr. Tenza present to the mayor and to Mr. Evans is, as you know from formerly on the board, and Rachel as well, when someone resigns unexpectedly, we sometimes have a savings realization, and that's why we put down other options. So that was a little bit nebulous. The 30,000, if you decide to add anything back to us, would take the burden off of the board ultimately having to look at the sports, and we would look at the 2 of the areas, the art and the music, for the coordinators in a different fashion. That might be less money.
So were you able to add back the library media specialists,
Absolutely.
all of them, and the technology?
All of them,
everything?
the technology.
Okay.
The district technology, no. The library media we have intact.
Okay.
We realized, and again, in transparency, we realized this. We anticipated realizing a savings from the departing librarian and the hiring of a new one. There was, I think, on David's list, there's about a $10,900 differential. So you know how that works on
Yes,
the board.
yep. So you're
So-
talking sports, basically.
We're
the
talking
30,000.
sports, and again,
Okay.
that would be something I would recommend to the board. There's certain things we would keep, most likely, again, not speaking for the board, we have a counselor cut. We looked at that, enrollment is dropping a wee bit. It's not ideal, but we would make it work. The administration, I know, we're going to look at a new configuration with one assistant principal for the two schools. My original recommendation to the board was to cut 2 teachers at Willard, additional, and 3 at Griswold. With the money that was added back in, we were able to bring it down to only 1 additional at Griswold, 1 additional at Willard, but still in all 3 schools kept our numbers for 1 teacher to under 20.
Were there,
So the 500,000 was very helpful to us.
were there going to be layoffs?
There will be some people on non-renewals, but they were in for basically maternity people, so they anticipated that.
Okay.
As it looks right now, two layoffs where we will realize costs for unemployment, and there'll be 1 termination, not based on cause, based on program reduction, where there's not the ability to bounce into another area. So there will be 3 people that in all likelihood we will have to incur unemployment costs.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
That
And,
helpful?
yes, that is very helpful, and I just want to say thank you. I hear the moving parts and, trying to reconfigure things and make everything
Absolutely.
work, and I know how difficult that must be, so
Thank you.
thank you for doing
Thank you.
that.
No, and we appreciated the money you gave us back. That made a big difference. Mr. Evans, Mr. Kaczynski asked us about, we didn't have any more room to put any salaries on grants. So that was where we had taken some of the money in the past and had transferred them, particularly with our choice grant. But I've already talked to the board about a new configuration for art and music with some assistance because of our townwide art show, music. We need some coordination with that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks.
I think as we move forward for next year, because these questions are going to be asked again next year, it was indicated by, and I don't know if it was Councilor Evans or you, that you felt that they could be interpreted in a number of ways. So I'd be interested, 1, to hear what the different interpretations could be, and then 2, if we want to make this so it is more clear next year, although it seems pretty clear to me, what needs to happen to make it more clear? I don't know how you can interpret this any way but what it is. So I'm interested to hear what your conversations were about that.
Well, I don't know, but I know there was more people that answered the questions and voted, I believe, yes. So some of the people that voted for the budget apparently answered some of the questions, I think, so. Which is going to happen.
Pardon the interruption, but
Yeah.
keep in mind the budget will be bifurcated next year.
That's what it'll be
Right,
different.
right.
So that actually will probably clear up a lot of the confusion. I mean, I did get a couple emails. People, for whatever reason, Rachel, were confused. I quite frankly, it was difficult to answer them. I understood what they were saying, but I guess I thought they were pretty clear myself. But I think we all did. That's why we wanted the questions. But maybe some people didn't. I don't know. But you're right. With the bifurcation, I suppose that will be much more clear next year.
And the questions are based on the statute.
Yeah.
Does it
okay,
say if
okay.
you voted no in those
It
questions?
just says too high, too low are the only advisory questions you can
But it
ask.
doesn't say if you voted no. So people could vote for the budget and still
Right.
answer. So
Right,
I
so
think, I mean,
We might have just
they're still very
right.
confused.
Yes. Yes.
The numbers aren't going to match.
Right.
necessarily.
I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
But so what I would suggest is this: we have a proposal, at least from the town side. We probably need some more discussion on the Board of Ed side, but to discuss the town proposal, we need to have an executive session about something. So what I'd rather do then is postpone this.
Can we?
Have
How
our
much
exe-
time do we have?
We have to May 10th.
Okay.
Or May 10th is the drop dead date, correct? So anytime before May 10th, we can adopt our budget, correct?
Well,
Okay.
hold on. So I just have some concerns because, I mean,
Hmm?
what day were you thinking of having another meeting?
I don't know, whatever
Because
we can make it.
I-
It could be
we
Sunday
were already
afternoon for all I care. whatever we
trying to
want.
get my cousin's being confirmed that day,
Okay.
so that's
No,
going to be
I'm not.
awfully difficult.
I'm not doing Sunday afternoon. I'm just saying whatever everybody wants.
I mean,
what
we
to
have
pick
8
a-
days, so I'm a little concerned
Okay.
about that.
So-
Well,
so my question
we're
is-
gonna get it done, but.
If we go into executive session now,
Yeah, yeah.
let's go in,
Okay.
let's,
We're going in later anyway, which
Right.
will answer.
I think we need
yeah.
to do this, right? I mean, you
Yeah,
guys,
yeah.
it's coming down to your 4 votes, right? So we
Maybe.
can talk all we want, we can postpone it till next Tuesday.
Uh-huh.
I've said my piece, obviously. You're gonna make the decision. So if you've already talked to each other,
Well,
I'm
I guess-
assuming you have.
I guess what I would like.
What does postponing it get
Well, what
us
I would
is
like,
my
Rachel,
question.
is what I would like is we all to make the same decision. That would be wonderful, like we did when we voted on the budget to go to the referendum. So I'd like it at this point, now that it's come back from referendum, that we all can have a consensus. That would be wonderful.
Well,
that
I've
would be
already
my
expressed my-
that
my
would be my
town
fairy
side,
tale
so
world I would like to live in. But
I'm not gonna support
I
a
would like to do
decrease to
that.
the town. So, I mean, I just
No
don't
matter
know-
what it is,
I'm
even
not.
if you
I
haven't
just-
heard it yet, though. What it
Okay,
is.
so let's go have the discussion and come out
We're
and have a vote.
having it tonight
Right,
anyway.
Right, so let's have a vote tonight. Why are we gonna postpone it? It doesn't gain us anything.
Maybe it does. I don't know.
And
But what-
honestly,
what?
my issue is that I'm not going to be able to come to another meeting because we were talking before this meeting about days to meet for the town manager stuff,
And
and
which day did we pick?
Thursday, and somebody can't
That's
come
too
on
late. That's the
Thursday
12th.
and
Or Tuesday.
No, it was
No,
the
sorry.
it was this Thursday, the 4th.
Right.
Somebody can't come that
Or next
Thursday,
Tuesday.
and then next Tuesday, Rachel and I both will not be here. We are all here right now. This is on the agenda
Monday
now.
night, perhaps.
I can't do Monday.
Okay.
I just don't know what we're gaining by waiting
But we need
till
to have our
Monday.
executive session. I really want to wait till the end because we have
Yeah.
two things
So
to cover.
okay.
Unless
Since
you want to have that first and postpone this and do this at the end, I don't know.
I mean,
But you also did indicate you wanted to discuss it some more as a group, so that's what I was trying to take advantage of. But if you don't, you don't. I guess I don't know what you want. You've just
I appreciate
changed
that.
positions.
As a group.
I know that.
We're
So
here
let's
and it's on
talk
the
about it.
agenda.
Right.
I mean, the point
So-
of that was
Yeah, that's fine. Yes, sir.
In the past, the party in power, or the majority party, gave us a number, and we'd negotiate it. And
Okay.
And I'm not adverse to doing that. I mean, we have to do the right thing for the town.
I agree.
However, we need a starting point of what the 4 votes are gonna vote for the 3 votes. So I really think some kind of proposal for us to look at.
Yep.
And I don't, we're not obstructionists. We got to get this done. We understand that. But it's easier to do when you're looking at actual numbers.
Sure. Well, I gave you an actual number, the first number I gave you, so I understand we have to have that executive session first, so perhaps you may accept that number when you hear what it's all about, but we can do that. So that's
I'd
why
like
I'm
to
sort
move
of
to go
between a
into
rock and a hard
executive
place.
session to discuss the 2 positions that will be eliminated from the town side.
I'm sorry, first of all,
yes.
it would be adding.
Can we? Oh yeah, I gotta move to add the item to the agenda. Okay, so I'll move to add an executive session to discuss the budget related to the 2 positions.
No.
They're not the
No.
positions.
It's gonna be
Yes.
personnel.
Personnel. Okay, personnel.
But when we make a motion, just move that one up, I guess, so we already have that in our agenda.
But that's different.
It's
That's
not
different?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's different.
Okay.
Sorry to all who are gonna wait for this vote, but.
That's why I pick another meeting, but that's okay, we'll do it tonight.
Okay,
That's what
so
you want, that's what you get.
There's a motion to add to the agenda the executive session to talk about the
Personnel. Yep.
Potential elimination of 2
2 positions. Yes.
Okay. Is there a second to add in?
Who needs, we're just adding it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're adding another.
Is
Second
there-
on that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. So folks, if you would clear the.
Wait.
Oh,
We
yeah.
have to, now we gotta move to go
With a
into
motion to go into
executive
executive
session.
session, but what we're gonna do is, so we'll move to go into executive session, hopefully give us about 10 to 15 minutes, I'm hoping.
We didn't talk about
And-
where we added it to the agenda though.
You're going right now.
We're gonna do now?
Right now,
Okay.
right now.
Alright.
So, and then we will, so you'd have to clear the room, then we will call you back in, we will do it as quickly as possible.
Who do we want
Yeah,
to
who do we
stay
want?
in?
We need a motion.
Denise? Do we need
We need
Denise?
a
Yeah.
motion to
I'd
convene
like to move to go into
Yes.
executive session to discuss the personnel matters for the 2 positions, and we will
We're
invite
gonna invite in.
Mr. Delaney, Jack
Delaney.
Healy,
Jack
Corporation
Healy.
Counsel.
Denise
And Denise
Parsons.
Parsons.
Denise Parsons?
And Kevin Leroy.
Yes.
Kevin Roy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kevin Roy.
Added Ola.
All right, that's everybody.
All right, so
That was like a
we made that
10-person
motion,
motion.
we seconded it.
Second.
Okay, all those in
Thank you.
favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we're at the budget, back at the budget. So, I'm just asking, you want a figure from us, so everyone seems to want a figure. Is there a figure that, based upon the vote to the Board of Ed, that 60 more people wanted to give them some extra money, that their budget was too low, that people had in mind, or not, that we can discuss, or is there any figure? I mean, we heard about with Mr. Irwin, we heard about the sports figure, which I know was floating around there when we spoke to him, and we heard about the 17,000 tonight, which would, add some couple positions there that seem to be important to him and the Board of Ed. So, I mean, that's a figure there. What is it? So 47,000, 50,000, let's say. That's a figure that, maybe it's something we can do, but yeah.
My inclination, go back way to the beginning and seeing this chart from Kevin, based on projections of our typical budgets over the last few years, and in 10 years we're looking at a $100 million budget in the town of Berlin. What's also weighing on my mind is the definite, most likely, I would say definite tax increases coming from the state on everybody in the state of Connecticut, including Berlin. I know it's been a very difficult budget season. My inclination, if it's possible, is we leave it alone. We just heard about possible savings from the town side, and maybe that's something we can transfer into Department 61 and try and help out the Board of Ed at a later date. I just don't feel the necessary to raise taxes any more than we have. So I'm comfortable where the number is right now.
Is that a motion?
I didn't know if anybody else wants to make any more comments.
Go ahead.
So I received feedback on just advisory questions and so forth, and here's kind of one of the things that I actually indicated was kind of a request of me as a budget chair on the advisory questions through a letter to the paper. But my indication of strong urging was that if you voted no, then vote on the questions, the advisory questions. If you voted yes, no need to. So I analyzed that a little bit. So the 780 votes that were no, the ones that voted on the advisory questions for the Board of Ed were 795 votes, so 15 more on that end. And then on the town side, there was advisory questions answered were 707, which were less than the 780 no votes. And then, and I think a number of us here have kind of looked at, well, if you look at the no votes, and that's what I kind of first looked at and did a little Venn diagram. It didn't come out too pretty, but it was a kind of a Venn diagram for those that like that kind of stuff. And the so the Board of Ed then had too low as a higher amount at 429 as to too low at 366. On the town side, advisory was too low for the town, and then for being too high in the town was 443. And the other slicing that, so folks from that at least expressed to me that, well, to them it meant that there should be more to the Board of Ed, and to the town there should be given less. Then I was given some indication that, well, why don't you look at the sum of the two highs and two lows, just across both organizations, and the sum of the two highs from both the town and the Board of Ed was 809 individuals. And then the sum of it being too low was 693. So some made the argument to me that it's too high overall, being 809 no's and too high. You'd have to take some votes off, some advisory votes off of that or balance that out, but it's roughly about that same. And so with 329 yeses and either 693 no's too low or 809 too high, then if you wanted to decide between 809 and 693, then then maybe it's too high. So
Can I
as-
comment on that rationale or ask you a question about that?
Those were just what I received. I'm
Okay,
not
okay.
having an opinion one way or
Okay,
the other.
I'm just
on
because
it.
there's probably duplicative people in there, so I'm just, if you're looking at it
Yeah.
from a cumulative perspective, it may be muddy data. That seems a little
It
of
is
a stretch.
It is a little muddy either way because, as I pointed out in the beginning, is 780 no's. You had 795 on the Board of Ed, which means there's 15 potentially.
Right.
15 yes voters that went over. And then on the town side with 707 commenting on it, then there was 73 folks that didn't express an opinion one way or the other. So it's muddy either way if we're trying to make a definition here, which was the intent and why I thought it'd help us transition to next year in the vote. So I think, as the mayor had indicated, that if there's 150,000 there, that would again potentially satisfy the 809 if you wanted to take that number. And then if we then broke it up between town and Board of Ed and wanted to give some to the Board of Ed, then maybe you shift, and that's shift some amount. I know I got some feedback that they wanted to increase the Board of Ed. So in this case, we're doing if we go this way, then we're doing two things. We're lowering the budget overall, which someone they're saying they're telling me that it's majority, and we're also shifting some funds over to the Board of Ed. It seems like a potential solution. We could debate the merits of it, but so that was kind of the overall feedback that I got from different individuals, and I don't
So
trying
I-
to come here for a consensus and move forward with a budget.
I'm always interested to know about the they, because we never know who they are, and why that they, whomever those people are, why their opinion would weigh more than what the voters did when they went in and filled in the bubble. I just, if that is that one person, is it 75 people, or we don't know. And I struggle with looking at these as combined numbers as too high, because I think that is a misinformation tactic, because I don't think that's, we bifurcated these questions for a reason, so we could see Board of Ed versus town, and to now come back because you don't necessarily like the results, or whatever the reason is, whomever they was that gave you that number, to say, no, we're just going to combine them back in one, then maybe we should have just asked one question. I'm concerned that we're going to look at this all as the budget was too high, so therefore we're going to cut the budget entirely, because that's not the response that was given by the townspeople. It was too high on the town side, too low on the Board of Ed side, and if you guys are going to stick to what you said about listening to the people, then I think you have to do that. I've already told you I'm not going to support cutting the town. I can't. I think that the decision to eliminate roles was made purely based on an ask to reduce the budget, even if that number wasn't given, and I just don't think it's in the best interest of the town. So, I'll let you guys continue the conversation, but I think I'm very concerned if we're going to look at these two numbers as a whole, because that is not what was asked of the people when they went to vote.
I have to agree with some of that as well, because the budget question wasn't, is the budget too high? The budget question was, should this budget pass? Yes or no? If you answered no, please fill in the advisory questions. So, should the budget pass doesn't mean that the budget was too high. It means that it shouldn't pass. And maybe some people thought that it shouldn't pass because there wasn't enough money in the Board of Ed budget and they wanted more. Maybe they thought the whole budget was too low. And so that's what my concern is here with taking more money out of it. We just don't know. Like, there's just I am.
So what would be the solution to that we don't know? What do we do? What would you suggest we do? I'm open to suggestions.
Listen, I'm here to talk about that. I mean, we talked about positions that could potentially be eliminated. Perhaps we don't need to do all of it. Perhaps we can take some of that money and put it back somewhere else where maybe it needed to go.
I mean, we got to come up with a motion, so that's why I'm
Right.
trying to
So you guys
craft
can make a
one.
motion at any point, I think,
Yeah.
right? I think you probably have one.
Well, I mean, yeah, go ahead, Charlie.
Discuss it.
I'm not thrilled about taking more money out of the town side either. I think the town's really stressed. And you said the council wants to do what's best for the town. The Board of Ed has to start stepping up and doing what's best for the town too. They use their position to ensure heavy raises for the management. And I'm in favor of education, but when they send letters home to people using tax dollars, to me, that's a misuse of our money. And the management ensures their raises by holding the town hostage. I'm very disappointed we didn't have a bigger voter turnout. I would have appreciated much more input from the voters. I know the 60 votes is the differential, their votes are important. I would have rather see hundreds of votes to help us make up our mind.
I think it makes it much clearer.
Mm.
And I, I've always been in favor of having a threshold for, and when we had the whole charter revision thing, when it came to having a second referendum, having a threshold that says, look, if you don't get a 10-12% voter turnout, then we don't go to a second referendum. It's really difficult to make decisions on the town based on 7%, and we don't want to discount those votes, but both sides can kind of interpret like, well, then people were satisfied with the budget, or they're satisfied. There's so many ways to look at it, and unless you have people actually come out and pull that lever or fill in the bubble, you don't know.
Right.
So based upon
We're adding
that,
our
though-
own narrative to
Yeah.
Right. Oh, we
what
don't wanna do
little
that.
pieces of data we actually have.
So
and,
based
and
upon
that's a
that,
problem.
I'm interpreting from what you said, and that's my interpretation, that you wouldn't change anything because we don't have enough data? Is it?
I am more willing not to change anything than to cut the town. I think if you gave a percentage to the school board, maybe you look at it as the increase being equivalent to what the differential was. I'm fine with that, but I cannot, in good conscience, ask our town employees to give any more. They have given and given and given, and we need to run a business. Our town is a business, and we need to run it. And I just think we continue to cut and cut and cut and not see the impact it has. It may not have an initial impact, but once you eliminate something, you cannot get it back. We know how hard it is to get that back. And it's not, this is my opinion, I do not believe it is in the best interest of the town to eliminate the two positions that were discussed earlier.
Right. I mean, I guess we know, and we've heard from the budget director that, we still know there's more pain to come from Hartford. And we know years going forward there's going to be more. So if we do not start, and the Board of Ed's already started with the budget they have this year, even though we helped them get through this difficult time the best we can, they still have to eliminate a few positions. And I don't see why it wouldn't be fair that the town starts looking down that road, because we're facing worse next year. So if we just go down the road that we've been going down, and we see what has happened in the state, they've been going down the same road for 40 years. I don't care what party you're affiliated with, they're all there together. And if we do that in this town, it's not a good road to go down. So if we have an opportunity to eliminate a couple positions where we're not having to lay anybody off and save some money for this budget going forward, and the town will still run as efficiently as ever, maybe more efficient from what I just heard in executive session. So I don't see the harm in that. If we're not creative with what we're doing going forward, the budgets are only going to get bigger. They're not going to shrink. And we heard our debt load is. Let me finish, please. Our debt load is not going down for the next couple of years. So we can't fix that. So we have to do something. I don't think just standing here doing nothing. And again, if we want to take this vote, the questions are what they are. So you know what? As
So
an
I'm just going
attorney-
to answer your
let me-
question.
well, let me
You
finish.
asked me what the harm is, and the
Yes.
harm for me
Yeah,
is
that's-
that when
I
the
get it.
state comes back,
Right.
we have nothing to give.
Mhm.
So maybe we look at that then. But right now, we do not have to do anything.
Well,
And
we have.
it will be $150,000 if the state comes back and says, we're taking $150,000 from you. If we do this now and they come back later, where do we go then? What do we have at that point?
I don't know, but do we just discount the voters then? Is that what you're saying? Because I think the voters are important.
Okay.
Mayor,
So-
I agree with you.
I think we need to make
Yeah.
a motion and vote.
Okay, we'll make a
There's
motion.
other
I know, 'cause I
places
think
to pull-
we've had
I mean-
From where? Where else will we pull the money
I just
from?
heard something about tables today. That's some money, although it's not as sizable as this amount. It
Table.
is some money. Dave?
We're not doing the table.
Right. That's.
I think we
that's
just need to
the
make a
point.
motion.
All right, let's make a motion. So, my suggestion would be this. We, based upon the questions, the first question I will look at, I know it's in reverse order, but the town budget, 443 people said too high. 264 said too low. There's only one way to interpret that. The town budget's too high. So I would suggest with $150,000 that we will save going forward with 2 positions that were already in the budget to be eliminated next year.
Is this a motion?
That's
Oh,
nice
I'm
to
just
me.
making sure with it, and then I would suggest, based upon the school vote, and I'll have Brenda can make this. I'm just putting it out there, if you want. Look at the school vote. So the Board of Ed is too high, 366, too low, 429. 429 wins out. If we're just going right by the numbers, which I've heard that, I would take 50,000 of that money and switch it to the Board of Ed. They can save sports, freshman sports at the high school, which I know Mr. Irwin's working on doing, but I would give them that money, and I would give them the 17,000 for those other positions and make it an even 50. And I think we answered both questions that the voters gave us direction on, and that's what I think is the most fair. That would be my motion if anyone is so inclined to do it. If not, we can continue discussion. I got time.
I'll make a motion to adopt the fiscal year 2017-2018 Town and Board of Education budget in the amount of, I don't have the number.
Yeah, we have to, so the amount with that would be, we have to fill in the blank on that. I don't know if you have got it, Dave, or if we
So
did.
I'm going to work on the mill part.
Yeah,
Well,
we
it's
did.
not
Can you
changing,
work
right?
on
Is-
the-
The mill would drop a little bit.
It does change.
Well, it would
the
change a
mill.
little bit. The 100,000 would drop, I guess. It would be minuscule.
You want 50,000 back in? 150
Yeah.
out, 50 back in.
Correct. So 100,000. would be-
$85,281,577.
Can you just
Is that what
take
you got?
Can you repeat that again?
85,
8,
85,
5,
281,
281,
577.
577. Okay. Let me plug this in to your calculator.
Do you have the mill rate there?
Dashboard. That's minus 100. Okay. And then, so then the mill rate would be 31.63. I agree, Mr. Delaney, with your 85, 281, 577. And the mill would be 31.63 if you want to check me on the 31.63, Kevin.
I agree.
Okay.
All right. Move to adopt the fiscal year 2017-2018 Town and Board of Education budget in the amount of $85,281,577 and set the mill rate at 31.63.
A second on that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those
No.
opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
So what do we got? 4 nay and 3 yeses. Okay, well, it fails. So,
We'll meet again.
hmm?
Set another meeting.
Yeah, other meeting?
Can we,
Or vote again if you'd like?
I don't think we can vote again.
No?
Can we vote
can we
again?
vote
No,
again?
you can't. Robert's
No.
rules.
Oh, I'm asking our lawyer.
So we'll have another meeting? We can't vote again? What happens
Better
now?
pass it by May 10th.
Huh?
Better have another meeting and
That's why I
have a
said.
resolution that passes by May 10th.
Okay, well, that's why I suggested another meeting earlier tonight, but we went forward tonight, so I guess we'll have to make another meeting, and you'll have to adjust your schedules to be there if you want to pass a budget. Whatever y'all want to do, whatever
Why
date's
you vote
convenient for
no
all of
on
you. I'm
your-
available any day, any night,
Hold on.
whatever you want to do. Pick a date.
7:30 Monday night.
Okay,
Can you do that?
7:30. What's the date?
I don't know.
It's okay, Jack. You don't have to be there.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I teach
No, I
Monday
know.
nights.
No, it's all right, Jack.
It's a Board of Ed meeting. I cannot be there.
May 8th.
Okay, so Dave can't be there. We all need to be here, obviously, with the way the vote's split. So we have another time we could all be there?
Anytime's good for me.
Anytime's good for me. You all have to...
Anytime's fine for me except starting next Tuesday. I have work events at night, so I can't go out Tuesday or later. So
Yeah, and-
anytime prior to Tuesday, I can be here.
So tomorrow's out of the question because we can't notice in time, right?
Friday?
Okay.
Friday works.
I guess Friday works, yeah.
Yeah.
Can we
Friday?
do early?
Friday?
5?
I could do...
I'm happy. Yeah, 1 o'clock is great.
That damn paycheck interferes with that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Vacation time. We'll
Alright,
take
Friday
vacation
then?
time.
5 o'clock?
Friday in the morning.
5 o'clock Friday night?
Do it early in the morning.
Can we do it?
I'm good.
We good?
Yep.
I could do Monday if we did earlier.
How
Monday,
much
we did
earlier? What time earlier?
So the 8th, we're talking back to the May 8th.
Why don't we keep it Friday in case we have to come back Monday?
Well,
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if we all can, if we can do
Monday,
it.
I'd
what-
rather do Monday because
All
I
right,
have.
that's fine. Yeah, no, I mean, Monday, what do you think, Dave? What time Monday? 6? Does 6 work?
I think that's cutting it close. If Dave's got to be back for childcare for 7.
What time's Board of Ed, 7?
7.
We do 5:30?
I can be here whenever you
Board of
need
Ed
me.
meeting, I guess, is at 7. Mr. Irwin, could I ask you to address whether there is previous meetings of the Board of Ed before 7 o'clock on Monday?
We might have an educational resources committee to discuss the vestibules, but that would be with 3 members, and we would
Okay.
have that at 6:30.
Well, I
And
could-
the agenda for the public meeting is not a large, major voting agenda,
Okay.
just so you know that.
So I could do 6 on Monday.
6 o'clock?
Yep, Monday.
Are we good?
Yep,
Monday,
perfect.
the 8th, 6 o'clock, Kate. You notice that?
Yep.
Special meeting. We will reconvene then on the budget. Okay.
Yeah, that is better. Friday at 5.
The 8th.
I got you guys. Don't worry.
If you have any questions, please let us know.
Okay, thank you,
Great.
Yeah.
Dave. Appreciate it. Appreciate the input. Okay. Number
8.
Number 8. All right.
This is for authorization, authorize the town manager, the interim town manager to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection about acquiring 27.7 acres north of Silver Lake and entering into agreement for HRP to initiate due diligence. It's a piece of property that has some old lagoon dredge ponds. We were working with the DEP. We would have HRP do a study of it and tell us what the feasibility is for remediating the site and then turning it over to the town. We would enter into an agreement where we would end up with the site for the town for recreational purposes. And Jim Mahoney is here. Jim's been working very hard with DEP on this.
Some motions there.
Okay, move to authorize the town manager or temporary town manager, right? To interim town manager to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the state of Connecticut DEEP to acquire 27.7 acre parcel of land in Berlin, subject to review and approval of Corporation Council. Also to move and appropriate funds received from the state Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection pursuant to the Silver Lake parcel MOU to review account, state and federal grants and expenditure account, Deep Silver Lake land, and to move to authorize the interim town manager to enter into agreement with HRP Associates to evaluate the basins and develop a conceptual plan and cost estimate for the basin stabilization so that the parcel can be made ready for open space and recreational use for a fee not to exceed $7,850, subject to the prior execution of the Silver Lake parcel MOU with the state and further subject to approval of the state of the scope and the cost of this due diligence analysis.
Okay, should we have moved on them separately, Kay? I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
It's okay? Okay, so we have the motions on the floor, combined motions, so, second on that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Can I just say,
Yes.
just quick, I
Yeah.
know we want to get out of here, but this
No.
has been a long time coming, and Jim has done amazing work on this. He worked really hard. We were up at the state many years ago working with, so I'm glad to see it come to fruition and to a solution have been found. So that's it.
Great, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved, thank you. We're not-
Agenda item number 9 is authorization to file an application for a brownfields grant for 76 Depot Road, 73 Woodlawn Road, and 80 Miserio Drive. Economic Development, Chris Edge and Jim Mahoney have been working on this. This money will be used to do assessments, brownfield assessments of these properties. Jim is here along with Chris if there's any questions regarding this submission.
Okay, motion on this?
Move to authorize the interim town manager to apply for brownfields assessment or cleanup grants for 76 Depot Road, 73 Woodland Road, or 80 Miserio Drive without offering a town match so that any required matching funds will come from the property owners, and if required, to enter into an agreement with the property owners to provide matching funds for the grant, subject to the review and approval of Corporation Council.
Second on that?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Number 10.
Agenda item number 10, we are withdrawing.
Okay.
Agenda item number 11 is to authorize the interim town manager to sign a physician of record contract. Kevin Delaney's here. They went out with an RFP. We only had one person respond, and it is the current physician, and they're at a reduced price. So Kevin's here to answer any questions.
Okay, can we have a motion on this?
Authorize the interim town manager to sign a 3-year contract with Dr. Stanislaw Trosipa to serve as a physician of record for the town of Berlin, and the town and Board of Education. And I'm sorry if I messed up your name.
Okay, second on that?
Second.
Any discussion, any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? So moved, thank you. 12.
Okay. The next, agenda item number 12, as we spoke, as far as this year's budget, we looked at ways of reducing the budget. And so we had received monies back for the Berlin High School project on energy work that was done there. We received some rebates. The rebates came into the total of $335,618. We're asking that that be moved, and that several expenditures would be assigned to that, which were in this year's next year's capital. We've moved to this year and pay it out of those rebates monies. Kevin Delaney is here to discuss the details.
Okay, great.
If I,
yeah, yes.
this was approved really at your last meeting,
Okay.
but the thing is that it's because we have to have a town meeting when it's over 250,000. So we really kind of jumped the gun on it. So what we're asking is that you set the town meeting for the next council meeting.
Okay.
And then it will be back on the agenda after that to reaffirm your vote, all right? So,
Okay.
so this is only to set a special, a town meeting.
Oh, no vote tonight?
It's a vote.
No,
set
it's
the
a
town
motion, I
meeting.
know, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, just kidding. All right, motion on this.
Move to call town meeting on May
Thank
16th,
you.
2017 for the purpose of voting to approve the non-budgeted appropriation of Eversource and United Illuminating rebate in the combined amount of $335,618 and appropriate to identified expenditure accounts as listed here.
Okay, second on that?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved, thank you. 13.
Okay, the next agenda item number 13. The state of Connecticut has awarded the town additional $6,250 in youth services grants and additional $14.79 for local prevention council grant. The agenda item is to appropriate the additional funds to the revenue accounts as assigned.
Okay, similar to the last one, motion on this?
Move to call a town meeting on May 16th, 2017 for the purpose of voting to approve the non-budgeted appropriation of State of Connecticut grant increases in the combined amount of $6,264.79 and appropriate to the identified expenditure accounts.
Second on that?
Second.
Any discussion?
Just,
Yes.
I may have missed it, Jack, I apologize. Why are we having a town meeting for $6,000?
This can
We'll
go,
let
yeah.
Kevin Delaney explain.
The way the charter has it, if we exceed $250,000 in a fiscal year of
in just
non-budgeted appropriations, every future non-budgeted appropriation has to go.
I thought
The
it was just the
335.
appropriations above 250.
Yeah, there's the individual appropriations of 25,000 or above, but then if the cumulative for the year is 225, so every future one will have to go to a town meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Looks like we're gonna be seeing a lot of each other in the next.
Any, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
We're gonna do these at 6:45, the night of the council meeting.
Perfect.
All right,
Okay.
so that way.
Awesome.
Quick
Thank you
and painless.
very much for that, Kate.
Agenda item number 14, we're requesting that you waive the bidding requirements for DPC LLC for engineering services proposal. This is related to the Deming Road pump station. I think in the last couple of meetings I've told you that we are having difficulties there. The system is old, it's antiquated, and we've had to expend quite a few funds over the last week or two to keep it running. So what we've decided is, Ray Jerame is here to discuss it, to have this engineering company. He specializes. DPC does do work for us currently. We wouldn't have to re-educate him, so we're asking that you allow us to enter into a contract immediately with him to start work to make sure that we can re-engineer this and keep it running properly. And so Ray is here to answer any questions.
Okay, we'll have a motion on this.
Move to waive the bidding requirements and proceed with a contract with DPC LLC not to exceed $24,841.74 for Phase 1 to allow for the first steps necessary to ultimately upgrade Deming Road Pump Station, as this is the best interest of the town and is long overdue.
Second? For discussion?
Second.
All right, discussion. Ray, I just have a question on this. You know, we're going down the road of we're not.
Some pictures for you.
Okay, great. We like pictures.
Like you would.
No,
I like the plastic jug even better.
This is a little bit better than the plastic jug.
Great.
Let me pass these off down.
Yeah, I did like that plastic jug. That was good.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Pass this down, Dave. Yeah, I made an enlargement so we can circulate it, and also some pictures of recent work that we did at the Berlin pump station.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't bring this visual aid.
Yes.
I'm glad I didn't either.
Well, a piece of it would have been fun to see, I guess. No?
15
buckets full.
Plastic bags in here, nothing else.
Come on now.
Thank you. If anybody would like to see it, you can come see it.
Please, this comes out of our drains, very
This is the issue that we're dealing with, as well as nationally. These flushable items are creating a tremendous problem, as Jack just pointed out. Our Deming Road pumping station, which is obviously one that we're concerned with immediately because it also has some safety factors issues, OSHA requirements for confined space. This gentleman here at DPC would do a real good job in terms of doing the permitting and the application for the Army Corps, as well as making a design factor. The first design and this is called the first design phase, would improve the situation. We would have a meter because we don't have a meter presently. Also, it eliminates the opportunity of our staff going down into a very hazardous condition. So this is one reason we'd like to see him do. What I passed out to you today is, in addition to that, is we have also been having problems with our Berlin pumping station. Very seriously, both of the biggest pumping stations are having problems because they've been aged and then no infrastructure improvements have been made. So we're trying to chip away at it. DPC is also doing a small project for us here too, because there are several conditions that are huge safety factors. The hinges on the building are falling apart, so we're afraid that once they go down, they may not come back up. The pistons on there are not working. The vent is not working properly. It's only short circuiting, so it's only venting from the top. It's not venting from the bottom. The gentlemen have to use oxygen sensors to get into the pit, and once they get into the pit, everything has to be removed by hand, by bucket. So the first picture you saw nationally is when they pull up these things, these rags and these flushables, they're basically like a rug because they get whipped around with the pumps and they become too large. In our pumping station, on the Berlin pumping station, it was like a rug. It was over 10 feet long. They couldn't shut down the sluice way, so they had to pull it up by a crane and then finally shut down some gates that had been never shut down at all. So we were concerned that they were going to be broken. We actually found one gate valve right underneath the fence, which we didn't even know existed. So a lot of problems at both conditions. So we're chipping away at it. The first one is Deming Road, and that's also got an unwilling partner. If you recall, that's the one that MDC discharges to. So hopefully that will be one that they'll help us financially with down the road.
Okay.
I don't know if there's any other
great.
questions.
I mean, obviously you did explain it here, but perhaps we're a little bit more sensitive tonight. A no bid contract. But I guess this company has been.
He's done substantial work for us. He's done the metering stations and the pumping stations evaluations, and some of the actual dollar amounts are used. He also comes from working with Taiwan, which is another large company, Woodward & Curran. He's presently on his own.
Okay. Any other discussion? Any questions? Motion on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Thank you, Ray. Dean.
Okay, number 15, we're requesting a resolution for the Pistol Creek improvements. The town, we're proposing to refurbish a number of the old golf cart paths here. People use it now for passive recreation walking. Some of the paths are starting to become rutted and broken. We're looking at through a grant, through a DEP Recreational Trails Program grant, to do some reconstruction at a cost of $125,580. Again, Jim Mahoney's done a tremendous amount of work on this, along with Chris Edge, and they're here to answer any questions.
My only question is, I raised earlier, that this won't affect the cross-country paths used by McGee in the high school?
No, it should not.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Motion on this?
Move to authorize the interim town manager to proceed with upgrades at the former Pistol Creek Golf Course, cart paths, and construct a handicap accessible parking area and trail for public use.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Thank you. 16.
Agenda item number 16 is to award a bid for the 2007, for the Kensington Village Sidewalk Project. Again, we have obtained a grant, Jim Mahoney and Chris Edge have obtained a grant, and we're proposing to do a number of sidewalks. The focus of those sidewalks would be Kensington Road, Four Rod, Burnham Street, trying to connect this campus to the center of town, if you look at the way our sidewalks are in town, there's gaps in them. We're trying to fill in a lot of these gaps. So we had Malone and McBroom do a design. The base bid came in at $221,800. We had additional funds available, so we're actually going out and we're going to use the alternates number 3, 4, 5, and 7 as part of the project. Those are additional lengths on Kensington Road, Four Rod, and Burnham Street, along with Grove Street. So we're basically connecting the dots right now is what we're doing. We did do a reference check on the contractor, talked with the Public Works Director in Watertown, and obtained references for that.
Okay. Motion on this?
Move to authorize the interim town manager to enter into a contract with Complete Services LLC of Oakdale, Connecticut, and to construct the Kensington Village sidewalks in the amount of $344,500, and authorize the interim town manager to increase the contract value through change orders to an amount not to exceed $379,000.
Second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
At this point, I would request that you add agenda item number 17 to the agenda. I believe that you had an email referencing this move.
Okay.
Motion on this?
Motion to add agenda item 17 to our agenda tonight.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Okay, agenda item 17, what we're requesting a transfer of $2,545.10 to cover additional expenses through the remainder of the year. We have an operating materials account that the Highway Department uses for miscellaneous tools, mailboxes and replacements, things like that. We had a higher number than normal of mailbox replacements this year to involve almost $2,000. We need the additional funds to go out so we can buy the blades for the mower that we use on the side of the road. Brian is at the point he needs to start mowing the sides of the road. He needs Jim Simon to advise him that we need the blades. We're requesting that you transfer those funds from the snow and ice account. We had a little bit left. We're requesting that you move it from there to the materials account.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, go ahead.
Why was the mailbox damage so high? Are we evaluating that? I mean, is it an unusual number from years past, or that seems like a lot of mailboxes?
My mom's got hit twice this year, and it was different than previous years. So
There's different, well, you want explanation. Mailboxes, a couple things. Sometimes the mailbox get hit by the truck. Lots of times they're not hit by the truck. They're hit by the snow.
Okay.
If the snow is extremely heavy, you can have a small amount of snow, but if it's that really wet snow, it hits the mailbox, knocks it right off. Okay. Technically, we're not supposed to reimburse a resident for that, but by the time you go out and you meet with a resident, the ill will that you generate, most of the time you just reimburse the person $40 to take care of the mailbox.
Okay, thank you.
Makes sense.
Okay, so a motion on that?
Move to transfer $2,545.10 from the snow and ice materials account to the operating materials account.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Okay, appointments. Apparently we have two.
Just have one, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Are there?
Central can vote for.
Yeah.
Both for the
They're both for the same, right?
There's two
We have-
openings or one?
And they're both already out.
Oh, they're on there, okay. We have, 2 openings, obviously, right? Where's
You get a whole door.
I don't see it on the list.
I don't see that.
Yeah, I don't see it here either. Kate, are
Yeah.
they, on this sheet? or-
Nothing on the Central Connecticut Health.
No, they're not.
Sorry, Kate, I thought I was not seeing.
So we'll hold off.
All right, hold
What?
off.
Hold off? Oh, okay, we
Thank
will,
you, God.
okay, we will move that to the next.
Sorry about that.
That's all right, that's okay.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we are now to our town manager's report, which I'm sure tonight will be very brief, Jack, I would imagine. Or as long as you wish.
No, it's gonna be brief.
Up to you.
The only thing I really wanted to bring to your attention is that we had a recent issue with the Royal Hotel where we had to move residents out of there. There were violations. Both the fire marshal, the building inspector found violations of our local ordinances. And so those residents were moved out last Friday, and they are currently working with the owner of the establishment to change the building. Essentially, there were rooms in that building that did not meet any code, so they removed them. And I didn't know if I just bring that up so if someone questions you and asks you, that we did take that action, and they were relocated to a hotel. And that's it.
So I have some questions for the manager. One, I would like to ask for maybe an executive session at next council meeting. There has been a flurry of people who have contacted me about different issues going on with staff and town hall, and I just want to have all of us have an opportunity to kind of hear from the interim town manager, kind of your take on what's happening. I know that there are some concerns. I just found out just the other day that Linda Clell has been out for quite some time. I don't know how that's impacting the nursing department. There's some other issues that I just think as a whole, as a council, we all should be aware of. And maybe you guys are aware of some of them. But I would just like to ask that if
I am not.
the mayor
That's the first I heard of
agrees-
that one, so.
If
yeah.
the mayor agrees, we can
Sure.
add an executive session to next
Sure.
week. And I don't even know if that is legal, if there's something, if it's just personnel, or if it's, or maybe I don't know. But I feel like I want to make sure that the people who work for the town are feeling secure, and if they're having issues, that they can approach the appropriate people. And I don't want this to be at all an indication or reflection on you, Mr. Healy. I think you are in a very difficult position. You are doing 2 full-time jobs with one person, and we don't know how long you're going to be there. And I want to make sure that kind of the retirements that we're seeing, the people who are leaving, we don't continue to see a flood out the door, so that we can kind of stop some of that from occurring and figure out what we need to do to make sure people are happy to be here.
Is there a flood out the door? Just thought I'd take you up on that.
Well, sure. So
Yeah, the
we've
retirements
lost
are
the
not a flood,
purchase, purchasing manager, we've lost the tax collector. We just heard we're going to be losing a highway superintendent at some point.
Yes.
We've heard the interim tax collector is retiring.
And there are different reasons behind all of them. I wouldn't call it a flood that they're fleeing.
Okay, then that
Bad choice of terms.
I would like to have a conversation about it, because what I am hearing is different than what you are hearing. So I think it would behoove all of us to be on the same page.
Absolutely.
So before you jump down my throat, I'm trying to
Well,
do
I don't
something
like the
good.
I don't like the
Mark,
I
I
don't
think
like
a
the
flood and a
terminology.
flight
I'm
are two
sorry.
different things,
That's
number
right.
one.
That's right.
And that sounds like a lot of people. So it kind of sounds like a flood to me. So
Oh,
if
okay. Well,
we're
that's your
having
definition.
a
I
flood,
don't-
then
I don't
I'd
know.
like to
Reason
know what's
behind
going
each.
on.
I don't
let's
think it's a
just-
flood. There are reasons behind each one, and I think they're all different
Well,
reasons.
exactly, and that's
so
why we
can-
want to have a
Would that be
discussion.
And we just
personnel
discussed
matter?
2 tonight, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Would that be a
Take them off the
personnel
flood
matter?
list.
Okay, then they're taking off.
I'd ask-
They're taking off the flood list.
Personnel, right.
My concern is that there are concerns in town.
Okay, great.
And why not address them amongst ourselves and figure out what we can do and maybe.
Why
maybe-
couldn't you go ask the town manager?
I did. And
Okay,
I
did
thought
you
it
get
would
any
be-
answers?
I
If this
did.
person's out.
But I
Great.
thought maybe it would be a good idea for all of us to be on the same page. Maybe
Okay,
I'm wrong.
sure.
So maybe
No, that's
maybe
fine.
we don't need it, and I'll just work individually.
I don't know if we could do an can we, Jeff, do an executive session on that?
Well, I'm not sure, who the people are or
Right.
what the answers are.
Right.
Executive sessions under FOIA are, for personnel purposes, relate to evaluating discussing performance, hiring, and firing. I don't know who the people are or what the reasons are for their absence, but it could be covered. Depends on what the
And if it's not, it's fine.
circumstances
I'll
are.
How do we
caucus
do
with
it?
I'll caucus with the
How do
three
we
of
do
us,
it?
and
Yeah.
we can talk about it, and you guys can do your own thing. I just thought it would make sense for us
If
to
we
do
could
it as a
it,
body.
Yeah, if we could do it. I guess there's no other way to get together, is there, without?
As a quorum?
Yeah, no, we
No,
can't do
there's
anything,
no
I
other
know,
way.
I know.
Maybe just a State of the Union, Jack. Maybe you could just kind of let us know how things are
Hmm.
going. You know, I don't want to put you. That's why I wanted to do an executive session. I didn't want to put you in a bad position, and you
Can
know.
we cover it, Jeff? No.
What do you mean, can we
Can we
cover
do a executive session on that?
Well, like I said,
Depends on the reasons.
executive sessions for personnel
Yeah.
are supposed to be to talk about the evaluation of an employee, of a public employee, a discussion of the employee's performance, hiring or firing. And I don't know.
What I
maybe-
may be hearing is wrong. So
Yeah,
so maybe
some-
we
if
don't
somebody
do
just
maybe
leaves.
I'll just
You know?
send my stuff to Jack, and he can address it to me, and I will let
But
us know.
That's a good idea, but I mean, so can maybe if you know, like, any of these people leaving, if there are reasons we could fit it on our executive session, I mean, I don't have a problem with that, if it fits, that's
Well,
great.
one of them we already talked about tonight.
That's
so.
true, right.
That
right,
wasn't even
yeah.
one of the ones I mentioned.
Yeah,
So
okay,
I just want to make sure that we as a body, as the leaders of this organization, are doing what we can do to ensure that the people who work here want to work here and are happy working here. And maybe they are, Mayor. Maybe they are. Maybe
Right.
I'm wrong.
Right.
But that's why I wanted to have the conversation.
Right, and I mean, it's,
That'd be
it's
great.
an important time to have the conversation because
I
now
agree.
we're meeting to talk
Yeah.
about hiring a new town manager. We need to set our
And there's
job
all-
is to set a direction
Right, and
and to
there's-
set a tone. And
I agree. And there's
if
always so
everybody's
many
leaving-
rumors floating
That's
around,
right.
and I
That's
would
right.
love to dispel those.
Mm.
I don't disagree with
Right.
that at all.
Right.
So, if perhaps Attorney D'Onofrio can put on his thinking cap with Jack Healy and perhaps come up with a reason to, if not, we'll figure out another way. How about that? So if you
Thank
can
you.
get back to us in a couple of days with that, Jeff, if it doesn't work, then we'll come up with something different.
Mayor,
to
let me
keep on us.
maybe offer up that if along the hiring side, then Mr. Healy can talk about the strategy or plan for hiring. Maybe
Okay.
that's the direction that we could look at. I don't know, just a suggestion.
Yeah,
I'm not
but
giving
maybe
any
some are
direction on
piecemeal
that.
we could even handle in public, but we'll see. We'll figure it out.
'Cause if they've gone, we're not firing them.
Yeah.
If we're looking to replace, we're looking to hire.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so some
And
of
I
them.
was thinking kind of more overall,
Yeah,
general,
yeah,
not
right,
specific
specific,
people,
okay,
but
yeah,
just kind
yeah.
of overall, how are things going? Because
Yeah.
we're not here day to day. You're here, Kate,
That's
you're
right.
here, Len, you're here.
Mhm.
You guys are in this building, we're not. So unless you guys are telling us something needs to
Mhm.
change, we're not gonna know. So I didn't really mean it to be a partisan argument. Actually, it was the opposite.
It's not a partisan argument. I'm just thinking that that's his job to run the town hall. In fact, I've been told that by somebody on this commission actually to know my place. So I let him run his town hall.
I agree.
And okay, great. Well,
I
so
agree with
we're
that
still there, but we seem to now be going down a different road, and that's
I
fine.
don't understand why we're arguing.
We're not arguing, but I just, it's funny because this came up before somewhere, and, it's just interesting from you, actually, but that's okay.
I think you're wrong, and
Well,
I'm
I
not
don't
going to
think
let
I'm
you
wrong,
say
but
that
it's
to
okay.
me
Well, I'm
because
sorry.
I don't
sorry.
taking
understand
shots
pretty
for what
for
reason?
why.
I-
Why? I don't get it. I really I don't
You and I
understand.
can discuss it in private then, if you don't
Okay, we'll
remember
do
what
that.
you said.
We'll do that.
That's great.
You know what? We don't
All right, we'll
need
work
to
it
we
out.
don't need to do that, Jack. I'll just meet with you privately. Obviously, being on the same page with everybody isn't important. So just don't do it. It's not worth the crazy
Town
argument.
manager do his job. All right, next, special committee reports, anything else?
If we had a permanent town manager, maybe we could do.
We have an interim, it's just he's got the same powers and duties as a permanent one for now.
All right.
Any special committee reports? Hearing none, any council communications? Hearing none, acceptance of minutes, if we could have motions on this?
Motion to accept the special budget hearing meeting minutes from March 28th.
Second on that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right, everybody, all right,
Yep.
so moved.
Motion to accept the April 4th, 2017 meeting minutes.
Second?
Second.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
One abstention, thank you.
Motion to accept the April 5th, 2017 special meeting.
Second on that?
I was here.
Any,
Second.
everybody there? You
Yep.
good? All those in favor?
Aye.
April 18th.
Motion to accept April 18th, 2017 Town Council meeting minutes.
Second? Second, okay.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Thank you. April 19th.
Motion to accept the April 19th, 2017 special budget hearing meeting minutes.
Second on that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Thank you. Okay. All right, so motion to move into executive session?
Motion to move into executive session to discuss selection of a site, sale, or purchase of real estate by the town on Farmington Avenue.
10:35. Second on that?
Second.
We will invite in your motion, I guess, I know you meant to include Jack Healy, Mr. D'Onofrio, Jim Mahoney, Chris Edge. Right? I think that was that in
Did
the
Jack
motion?
leave? I think
Yes.
Jack left. Jack, sorry, thinking Kevin.
I didn't think I left.
No.